Welcome, everybody. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to talk your ear off in just under 90 minutes, it's Tom Connors on Midnight's Edge After Dark. That's right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to the proceedings, I guess. All of us here on the panel have seen Superman. We're going to talk about it. We're going to start with non-spoilers first. But let me introduce the panel. We got Paulie here. How you doing, Paulie?
Fantastic, man. Look up.
Fantastico. Look up or what?
Look up.
It's a Birdman.
That's the call sign.
I got cobwebs.
For the movie.
I got clean. I really got to clean. We got Neek Weiser, all 32 flavors of them.
Hi, Tom.
How you doing, Neek?
You look good in that Jaws shirt.
Thank you. I couldn't find my Superman one. It was dirty, so I was like, fuck it, I'm putting Jaws on.
It's okay. I wore my Suicidal Tendencies hat. My Superman's great.
I wore my Danny Trejo
I
hat.
think people are probably really weirded out why a guy was smiling over seeing Superman wearing a Suicidal Tendencies hat. Probably the irony. They probably didn't understand it one bit, but it's okay. But happy to be here amongst good friends. So
I know you got to be up early, so this is a huge sacrifice for you to stay up this late, but we appreciate
Usually
it.
This is my time where I got face plant, but I got staff for this. This is my exception.
Indeed. And we also have with us Greg from Fanzine. How you doing, Greg?
I am doing good. I'm the same with Nick. Normally, I am not up this late on a Tuesday, especially with doing our live show tomorrow on my channel. But I'm amped. I saw this movie, and I'm like, I want to talk about this movie. So I was like, I want to ask Tom if I could join.
The upside is I didn't watch.
You could do it. I could do it too.
That's a lie. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't watch that many movies, but that's a lie. And we got Mark with us. Mark D with a C. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, doing great. I got flack for wearing a Spider-Man shirt to Superman, but like my kids told me, like when you go to a concert, you're not supposed to wear like the band's concert shirt.
That's what I thought.
So that's what I said. I said, I'm not wearing
you know what? I made that made that mistake, Mark. But you know when it was? I'm like, okay, we got Dean Cain on today.
Awesome.
So I'm going to put on my Batman shirt so I don't look like the guy wearing the shirt to the concert. And so what does he do? He gives me shit for wearing a Batman shirt. Tonight I would have just wore my shirt.
Interviewing Dean Cain?
I thought I'd be that guy that Mark just explained.
If it's any consolation, Tom.
No!
Gary King from Slayer wears Slayer shirts on save when playing with Slayer.
Now that's gay. See, that's like super gay.
Really gay. Really gay. Gay or really gay?
I mean, I'm that guy that I thought that was the thing to do, but now from now on, I'm never going to do that. Because I used to be the guy that would show up with my shirts all the time and everybody make fun of me. Now I show up like today, just the only reason is this, because I just look clean. But I did get some compliments on my shirt.
Yeah, and you did get the Jaws popcorn bucket finally, right?
I did, finally.
So there's the God.
There is a God out there. And we need a bigger popcorn bucket. But let's see what you guys are going to say here. We got Views with Hughes, Culture and News. How you doing, buddy? I haven't talked to you in a tick.
What's up, man?
Says, I admit, I was wrong about Superman. Well, I don't know what your reaction to it was offhand, but I'll have to check that out and see what you thought. I'm thinking you mean you liked it. Gonzalo Bergali sent in 10 or gifted 10 memberships. I can talk sometimes when my brain's good.
When my brain not dead.
Is when it's not done for. And then we got Gonzalo sending in another super chat. Thank you for that. That's Uruguayan pesos, I believe it is. 75 of them. Only got one question. Where should it be watched? Cinema, stream, or cable? Dude.
Let me
talking to the wrong people.
Wait.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Like, this is a question that I think will be answered later. So just hang in there, Gonzalo.
Yeah.
Unless you really got to run, then just DM me and I'll tell you. But hold on, because I think it's gonna come up later. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Jason Webster says Snarky J and Dan Murrell have given the most honest, accurate reviews of Guns Superman. Snarky J gave it 4.5 out of 10. And Dan Murrell gave it a not a fan. I don't know if that's honest.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that honest or is that confirmation?
confirmation for
feel.
you, Jason. Did you see it too, Jason? And that's how you
mean,
feel?
If someone likes it and they genuinely like it, does that make them less honest because they genuinely feel that way? I'm not saying that to throw shade at Jason. I like Jason.
No, but I agree with you in that respect. Yeah.
But that's, I mean, and yes, you can also genuinely not be a fan as well. I mean, two things can be true, not one or the other.
Oh, yeah, because I will say one thing up front. There is going to be certain fans that will not like this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I know what James Gunn meant by that.
Thanks for the super chat, James.
Yeah, no, I don't know if James even feels that way. Maybe he hasn't even seen the movie yet. But SFX F314 Sabretooth Raptor says it's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Super Tom Connors, able to defend TMNT from Joe Rogan. Well, Seth Rogen, I think you mean.
Seth Rogen.
I don't want to fight no Joe Rogan. I do not want to.
You don't want to get.
He would knock me out in a single bound.
I would have a hard time defending myself with Homeboy.
Yes, I think he meant Seth. That's what I think he meant.
Seth. Yeah.
Fuck you, Rogan. Get away from my turtles. Yeah. That's the one he meant. But thank you, SFX Sabretooth Raptor. That was good. And then we've got the Dead Man coming in with I have a Superman shirt for every day of the week. I used to. Then I got fat, and my kid took one or two. And I don't know.
Fat? You're fat?
I'm like Weird Al Yankovic fat video fat. What was that?
They shrank in the closet.
I have the opposite problem. I had a bunch of Superman shirts that I can't wear no more because I shrunk.
Send them to me.
Yeah, you got lean, bro.
No, don't encourage me to stay this way. Trust me. In fact, I have been noticing some changes anyway, but I'll get into that later at some other point.
Later about that.
Awesome. Salad's paying off already.
I didn't say I was eating salad, but don't get ahead of yourself.
Don't get it twisted.
But I used to have one I was looking for. I think my kids stole this one too. It used to be my favorite one was it was like the S, but it was made out of steel on a black shirt.
Yes. Dope.
So it had like the bolts and everything around it and shit. I loved that one.
When I was little, I had the freaking S, the S all shiny and shit from the 78 movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had like the silver one.
I had the silver, right?
Yeah.
I had that t-shirt, man.
Yeah, that one would be cool too. I'd like that one. But all right, let's break into this. I'm gonna get the non-spoiler banner up. Let's see here. Non-spoilers. Okay. So if you do want to have specific questions for spoilers, you can get them in a super chat or whatever, and we will address them when we get to the spoiler section. But anyhow, let's start with our overall, I guess, give me your expectations rolling into it, and then give me your overall, like, thumbs up, thumbs down. If you want to give it like out of 5 or out of a 10, that's up to you. So I know some people like to rate movies differently, right? Anyhow, let's start with Paulie, since you saw it first, and you've been holding this in the longest. I know you've done a couple videos, but I mean, you've really been holding it in. So I'm sure some people want to hear what you thought.
Yeah, my overall impressions was that James Gunn made a killer James Gunn movie, a good Superman movie, and an incredible DCU universe reboot. I was so impressed. I was hooked. It did take me about 10 minutes to let go of all the other Superman movies that I'd seen, right? Because I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I love the writing, I love the actors, and this should be celebrated, man. And if you don't like it, that teach its own. But I think this is one of the better superhero films in a long time.
All right, so that'd be a thumbs up, I guess you would say.
Thumbs up.
Do you want to give it any other kind of rating at all?
That's funny because I didn't do a rating. I know I saw with Rosa.
Some people don't like to, so I'm not trying to pressure you.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's pretty high up there. She gave it a 9 out of 10. I would probably be. Let me think about that.
No problem. We'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Since you enjoyed it, to answer Gonzalo's question from your point of view, what way do you think is the best way to view it?
Well, I saw it on a standard screen. It was a media screening, so I cannot wait to see it in IMAX. I'm seeing it on IMAX Thursday night. So
All right. And I think the rest of us did see it in 2D IMAX. So, and there you go. And then we got Mr. Suicidal Tendencies himself falling asleep over there because the poor guy's got to be up at 5 o'clock in the freaking morning.
Oh, I'm actually paying
I'm trying to get
attention
him
to
just.
writing a comment.
No, he's probably
Freaking
just
nap.
jazzed from Superman. What did you think, buddy? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Because you're the
I
comic
really-
book guy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. You know, I do have some I do have some minor complaints, but nothing that was like a major deal breaker for me. I'll put it that way. I'll split.
Is there any of your complaints you can say real quick that are non-spoiler? Like
yeah.
CGI or music or anything like that, maybe?
There's some humor that lands well, and there's some humor that doesn't. Put it that way. Then now, is the humor different as James Gunn advertised? Yeah, he was right on that. He didn't lie. But there, like I said, for me, the stuff that landed really did, and there's stuff I was like, it wasn't anything like super bad or cringy, but it was just like, oh, type of thing. But I did really enjoy it. I liked how breakneck speed the movie was. I really enjoyed the action. I really enjoyed the a lot of the character work too. It felt like the movie was just a lean, mean green machine stripped to the point, which I'm glad that's what we had. It also really recontextualized a lot of the scenes in the trailers as well. I'm sure some might have a renewed appreciation, and some will still complain just to be mad and have a lawn to yell at. And I really liked a lot of the performances from some of the main stars. It was a Superman movie. But I still could have used a little less of some of the other heroes. Even though what I saw of them was good. I'll say that. It was good. It was good. I'll admit that. But I could just a tad less. But I would still give it a good, strong 8.1. I am happy about it. I am excited about seeing it again. And I got to catch on Dolby because I did IMAX tonight, 2D IMAX. So now I want to do Dolby next. And I got to do with my oldest because she's got to get that crypto plushie. And if I don't get that for her, it's going to be a very dark time in my life.
The crypto
somebody's
merch.
got a plushie.
Crypto merch is going to.
The crypto merch. Oh my god!
Is there a theater doing the plushie, or is that the story?
Regal Cinema
Look
is
at Tom,
doing
dude.
the
I was like, I'm going to.
because I went. To
I
AMC.
didn't say that, now did
went to
I? You
AMC.
don't know how I felt about the dog.
No,
AMC.
I'm just talking about you and merch.
Oh, that's different. Yeah, you're
That's
true.
different.
True. Yeah, but I'm not. I gotta like it usually to
buy it.
go after it.
Same.
The only
I gotta like the
exception
merch
I think
too.
I've made recent years was like when I bought the Batman popcorn bucket, but it was just the mask, and I thought, oh, the bust of the mask is kind of cool.
That was
But-
cool.
Yeah, so that like whatever, but usually I gotta like the movie. But
right.
anyhow, so all right, so you got to give it an 8.1. You said out of 10. That's pretty good. Okay, that's a good like almost not quite near like 10 out of 10 or 9, but
That's pretty high.
just
Oh.
over 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
All
here's the thing. I try to be modest with my scores because I to me my biggest decider on whether it goes a higher or lower, it stays the same as time. Because rewatches are going to be the dictator of how I feel in the
You
long
said
term.
dictator.
Would.
Would.
I
He said
always
would.
try to keep it modest. Also, I'm trying not to skyrocket people's expectations who haven't seen it. The last thing I want to be is that guy who says 9.5 or 10 out of 10, and then Nick really overhyped the movie.
Right.
Keeping it
No, I'm
modest
with
is
you.
important.
I'm with you on that. It's tough to it's tough to like temper that.
Especially when you're caught up in the hype,
Yeah.
it's easier to like heighten the score. And I outright refuse to be that guy. But I'm still going to see it again two more times.
Tell
So
you
I
something.
should tell you I like it. I mean, what more do you
There
want
you
to
go.
hear from that?
And now, what way do you think people should see it? Do you think 3D, IMAX, 4D as Gonzalo, which I think is the
Now,
4DX
for
is what he
me,
means?
I'm one of those guys where I don't really care about those type of things. I'm only doing it because I want to see if I can benefit with it with a Dolby experience. I've been told, "Oh, you should see Dolby." I'm like, you know what? For once, I'm going to listen to.
What
people.
about doubly?
Usually, I never do. I don't
Doubly
like
is better.
3D. I've never liked 3D. So I don't really have any skin in the game with 3D or any of that stuff. But
Right.
I saw it standard 2D on IMAX, and that was perfect for me.
You'd recommend
It
it
was
for IMAX though, because it is shot for IMAX.
It was a
in that
pack. It was a
respect.
pack. It was a packed room too. Like we had the biggest auditorium in one of the biggest theaters in our state.
Did you go to
It's one of
Chicago?
the biggest AMC's. They did at this town called Barrington. It's basically this town where like there's a bunch of rich people at.
Now, is it a FOMAX like mine, or is it an actual? Because if you go to Chicago, you get to see it in the real
there's
IMAX,
the Navy
right?
50
Pier.
feet
Yeah,
tall.
there's the Navy Pier
Yeah.
IMAX, which I've been to. It was the same as that one, as the Navy Pier. It was
Oh,
the
okay, so it is a
exact same
real
one.
IMAX. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
a
I
big
don't. I
deal.
know there's not that many of them. I mean, there's a few
So
out there.
it's
But
specifically when you look at all the auditoriums for the signs, this one specifically lists it as an IMAX room. It's the only one that's
But
like
how
that.
big is the screen, Nick? Is it like 50 feet tall kind of screen?
I'm not.
No, but I mean it's like
I'm not
massive.
the man
like,
you want to go to for measurements, Mark.
well,
No,
right.
but
That's what I was
it's-
saying is because the one in Chicago's with it's for the original IMAXs because there was only like what 15 I think throughout the
Yeah.
U.S. because they were
Yeah.
originally part of the National History Museum or whatever it was.
Right.
And so they were actually much bigger screens, but then AMC bought the name. So they built them all in there. So there's like are like the 30 or 25 foot screens. I
yeah,
think
it's a
I can't
mini
remember.
max.
Like a mini max almost. And that's what I believe mine is because it's a much smaller one. But I think some of them, where if they were able to build them, they might have been able to do bigger ones. I don't know for sure. But I just remember people bringing that up because Dune showed differently depending on what kind of IMAX you saw it in. Sinners showed differently depending on what So they're actually admitting now because people were noticing that they were cropped differently before. They're like, you don't see it the same in the same IMAX or you do in the regular theater. And that is the case here, I imagine. I don't know how it's cropped off in a standard theater though. If they just have it in 1.8.5 or if it's
Must
if
be
it's
different. Is it
2.3.5.
different print for if it's not IMAX or a different lens and camera?
The
setup,
actual
projector setup?
IMAX. Okay, so the IMAX ones that are the real true IMAXs that have 70 millimeter, they actually have the film prints, I believe. Now the rest of them are all digital laser projectors.
Yeah,
I
because
guess.
we might not have got to see the movie tonight because they announced like the Windows had crashed, because it's all digital, and they're like,
Well, even if that's the case,
projector's
yeah,
crashed. We're like, what do you mean it's crashed? Like,
yeah,
we're
like
we're
yeah,
not
that is
sure.
probably
And then
digital.
Then they're like, we might have
Yeah.
to take 10 minutes to calibrate the film, and they're like, oh, one of the projector lenses might not be working. It's like, you gotta be kidding me! Like Superman opening night, they finally got it going, but it looked okay. But we were worried that there were the guy was saying there were 2 projectors for IMAX. I don't know how that works, but
Where do you go?
AMC in Portchester.
So it's
New
not
York.
not the
It's a
original
mini
ones.
max.
It's a
Yeah,
mini,
it's
yeah.
a-
So that would be digital then, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
strange that they don't have backup shit for that, like just
Yeah.
to swap them out quick. But anyhow, so Greg, you're next, right? So let's get your reaction to it.
Okay, I was actually hesitant of the movie first when I saw the first trailer. I will say I was, him laying in the snow and Crypto coming. I wasn't too thrilled with that when I saw the trailer. So when I went, but the more I saw the movie, the more I wanted to see it. And so after seeing it tonight, I had to sit on it a minute after I watched it and really think about the movie. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed the movie, much like Nick, because I am a Superman fan. I'm a comic book fan of collected comics. There's a few nitpicks I have. We'll get to when we get to the spoiler section. There's one in particular that really made me mad, but other than that, I enjoyed the movie. I think it's a fun ride. Seeing it on the big. I do think you should see it on the big screen, biggest screen possible. I'm not much for 3D myself as well, but I know you are. But like the IMAX, definitely. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed a lot of the cast in this movie. I mean, I got to give props to Nicholas Hoult. He was awesome. He was David Cornswet
man,
is
was he
great too.
formidable.
Yes,
So different, but it was so different, and yet
it was.
I don't want to.
I know. I would have.
I'm sorry.
I would have talked so much.
Yeah, this is just supposed to be just like if you got stuff that you want
It's
to
a
say that's good or bad
non-spoiler
that's
thing.
non-spoiler, go for it.
Yeah,
Like
it's
so
just
far
that-
you've been saying non-spoiler.
I
good
think
things.
Yeah, I was trying not to get. Yeah.
I
We're
think
good, we're
one of
good.
the- what makes this special is that it's so familiar and yet it's so different.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was just
anyway.
kind of just blown away by just that, that daring idea. Because Hollywood is so, especially with superhero films, last 10 years. I mean, there's no balls to these movies anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, whether you like it or not, this movie, you have.
But anyway,
to
you were
give-
saying. Oh,
What's
go
that?
ahead. Sorry, finish.
No, you just have to give props to James Gunn swinging for the fences, man.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I just wanted to let Greg finish his thoughts,
Yeah.
and then we'll get into all that other
I
stuff.
did. I
too.
did have some thoughts similar
Sorry
to
about
Nick. With some of the humor, I did think didn't land in some spots, but some of the humor did land in others. And much like Paulie said, I had it in my head where Paulie said it earlier. I had to let go of Superman because I'm a huge Christopher Reeve Superman fan. That's my jam. I had to let that not seep into my head while I was watching this movie, right? Because you have to. This is a new Superman for a new time, and if you can let go of that just a little bit, not saying you have to stop liking Christopher Reeve Superman, because that's like my favorite Superman. But if you can let that out of your head and just sit back and enjoy the movie just is a fun ride. Like seriously though, I had to sit for a minute after watching. I was like, I had to really think about it. That's why I didn't record a video tonight, because I wanted to think about it. And then I saw Tom was doing this, like, I want to talk to these guys. So yeah, it's a thumbs up for me. See it on the biggest screen you could possibly see. I definitely think it's a fun ride of a movie.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, so I had a great time too at the movie. So it's also a lot more fun when you go see these opening night. You had to buy these tickets early through Amazon Prime. So I mean, the movie theater was packed. Everyone was buying popcorn, the merch. Of course, I got the cup, which is pretty cool. And I should have gotten crypto though. I went with Superman. You can pick a topper. But yeah, Corn Sweat was great. Brosnahan was fantastic. If you haven't watched Marvelous Miss Maisel, watch that, or especially the pilot episode. But no, she falls in. She's perfect casting as Lois, and I thought some of the jokes, a couple of jokes sometimes don't land. I thought it was a little tried to add a little bit too much humor in a few spots, maybe when it didn't need it. But it didn't detract from the movie. It wasn't, the disaster that Love and Blunder was, and the Marvel Takiti Wahidi is gone. Just everything is a freaking joke, and I was worried about that with James Gunn. And yeah, as Paulie said, yeah, it's definitely a James Gunn movie. It's got a stamp all over it. But Crypto should have been better behaved. I thought we were joking. We won't get into spoilers, but God, if you got a dog that's a super dog, maybe he should be able to listen a little bit more. But yeah, he was, there's a lot of hype about Crypto, but he was a lot of fun. And they did. The other great thing was I had some friends texting me tonight, some normies, and like, oh, you had to sit through Superman's origin again. I'm like, nope, it just goes right into, just you're in. There's a, there's a crawl in the beginning. It kind of explains XYZ Superman's timeline. I won't say what it is, so not to spoil it, but right away you're into the adventure.
Well, even kind of beyond Superman's timeline, right? It tells you kind of the beginning of when everything. Yeah,
it tells you everything, and then the Justice, was it the Justice Gang? Is it? And they don't explain Green Lantern. They don't explain Mr. Terrific. They don't explain Hawkgirl. But they're just in there. They're integral to the universe, and it's just operating. So there's none of that wasted exposition and to slow the movie down. They're just there, and they're and then you get little tidbits as you go along. They put little things you can find out about the characters, but it's nothing like telling you Mr. Terrific's the third smartest person on the planet. They don't explain all that. He's just there with his wonderful balls, right? So, and I thought that was my favorite scene, but I won't spoil anything. But that was, I thought that was my favorite scene in the movie with Mr. Terrific's fight scene. I thought that was fun. So, yeah, just
nice balls.
He had nice balls, yep. So, and Lois was not sure what are these balls? But if you read the comics, you knew. But yeah, and we're getting into the later we're getting into the spoiler stuff
really soon here now because we're almost past. Yeah. I'm the last one, and then
you're the last one. But I didn't think there was any overtly political in the movie. I didn't see anything that was
nothing that wasn't really kind of generic. I mean, if you wanted to draw some parallels, you can, I guess, if you really want to go digging.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't see any of that. And I thought that Corn Sweat, he did have some charm. He did have that Superman. I didn't like the costume. From the start, they do have the trunks, but it's overly complicated in terms of the lines, but you kind of forgot that after a while. I think it kind of grew on you, the costume. It wasn't a big detraction, and the CGI looked good. The robots look good. And, I thought the fights were fun, and there's a lot of action in it. So I guess I give it like 3.75 out of 5 terrific balls. Definitely, I'd recommend
you love
it. It's a thumbs up.
to grab it by the balls, do you?
Yep.
All right. Well, that being said, I guess now it's my turn.
Yeah. What did you think, Tom? Your first impressions? Did you have any preconceived ideas going into the theater? And
Well, I was afraid of I was worried. I've been worried like a lot of folks that this wasn't going to be good, even though I've heard, good things from people like you, Paulie, and others. It was repulsive, disengaging, the most unfunniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know why they picked James Gunn to direct Superman. He doesn't understand Superman. He doesn't get it. I can't even keep my face straight.
I like, what?
I loved it.
That was good.
I loved it. Now, okay. Now you made the big point, Paulie, and this is where I was going to get to it anyway. Yeah. Yes, you have to disengage from every Superman before.
Mm-hmm.
This is handled in such a different way. This is probably the most comic booky superhero movie I've ever seen. Some people are not going to like it. The tone is in a way that it's just, you're either going to go with it or you're not. It is a bit jarring at first, but once you start getting what it is, you either like it or you don't. I guess that's going to be what most people are going to say. I did. I liked it. I was there for the ride. I was nervous for the longest time. It did have a slightly rocky start, but I wonder if on review the start will be much different. And to answer Gonzalo, I want to see this in 3D IMAX now. That's the flying scenes, the fighting scenes. There's some scenes that are clearly built for 3D, which I'm not surprised because Guardians of the Galaxy films were really well done in 3D, and I'm sure I'm not going to get a 3D Blu-ray, so I might as well see it in 3D. But that all aside, there is some shit that is I didn't like the whole punk rock music thing. Mm-hmm. So some of the music was not very good in this movie compared to most James Gunn films. I'll say that, but there's not a lot of pop music in it, so keep that in mind. That's the only thing I didn't like on the music side. The score is great. CGI, there's some dodgy CGI here and there. There's some of these characters you're not even sure why they're there because their stories and who they are probably got dumped to the cutting room floor, but that's fine. Not a big deal. Because at the end of the day, it's Superman, so we want to see Superman. And yeah, the cast, for the most part, that we do get to see most of the time, as far as I can tell, knocked it out of the park. I can't think of one real bad, performance or moment where it felt like anybody was out of place. I love that everybody kind of got their thing to do, that it was important to Superman and his world, but yet it didn't feel like it was taking too much away from it. And in fact, if anything, I don't think anybody who had any worries about too many characters coming in, I didn't feel like it was like a de facto Justice League movie at any time.
No.
So that being said, there are going to be some people who might be completely lost with this in some places, but I don't think so. I think most people will be able to follow it just fine and either know enough or know these characters enough. They'll be fine. The kids are going to love it. People who love Silver Age Superman or the more sci-fi elements of Superman are going to love it. I didn't know who Mr. Terrific was before this movie was made, and now I love him.
I didn't like Mr. Terrific.
Oh, you didn't like Mr. Terrific?
I felt like he was. I felt like he was there trying to say, "Here's the cool character. Be cool," and I felt like he was not. I don't know. I just didn't like him. I have to rewatch it though. I have to rewatch it to see if I can. I just didn't quite like.
I thought it was terrific.
I ended up liking Guy Gardner more than I thought I would too.
I ended up thinking Guy Gardner was great. I thought Hawk Girl kind of got the shot.
Hawk Girl, she was there. She's got some decent stuff, but otherwise, yeah, she's kind of just there, like you said.
I don't know, but I don't know what it was about Mr. Terrific. I have to rewatch it. I really, really do. But I get
what you're saying, because at first I wasn't sure either, but then I kind of got it, and it was kind of like this. It was just this confidence thing.
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. I don't know. It just
That might rub some people the wrong way, but I don't
Oh,
know.
I thought it was outstanding, man.
I thought his
thought-
costume's
I
horrible,
thought
but
Mr. Terrific was great.
Mhm.
I actually liked the stuff with Hawkgirl, but do I agree it
I
could
did
have taken
too.
it out and not made a difference? Yeah. I feel
Yeah,
like the lady, she's obviously clearly the Kendra Saunders take of the character. And I liked what I saw, but it didn't need to be there at all. I feel like at least
Octua girl.
Well,
Terrific,
I think
this stuff absolutely added to the movie.
I mean, and these are nitpicks, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, these are
I
nitpicks.
These are
disagree
nothing.
because I think Hawker was a great foil to the two bros.
No, like we're
Which
getting
is
into
hilarious. I thought
nitpicky
their little
territory
banter
now,
was
as far as like even non-spoiler nitpickiness, because I love the score, even though it's got two different writers. I didn't feel like it was coming from two different places. I don't like I said, I didn't like the pop music side of it though. So keep that I just want to keep that separate so people don't think I hated the music score. I actually liked the music score a lot.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't think of too much more non-spoilery at this point to get into before. So let's give everybody a few minute warning, go through these super chats and go to spoilers. Imaginative Hobbyist says, after this, how interested are you in the DCU? Oh, I think I'm fairly interested, but this movie makes it feel like I'm not going to have to watch everything to get connected. Like, I don't feel like I had to have seen Creature Commandos
No.
or Peacemaker or anything else to get to know any of these characters. I don't feel like there's a missing, like, Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific series or something out there that I haven't seen. You know what I mean? Although that's probably, and this is going to be a mileage will vary kind of thing. This is one thing that is non-spoilery enough, I guess, that I will say up front. This does feel like a part 2 or 3 to a movie we haven't seen. It does.
A little bit.
That may be an issue for some people, but I think knowing what we would get before would just pretty much be a straightforward, basic origin story. Am I mad that we don't have it? Not really, I guess. Part of me is, because I'm a completionist like that. I would love to have seen just kind of the introduction to this character to the world. You know what I mean?
We've
But
seen it in almost every other medium.
Yeah.
It's like
granted,
everyone
exactly.
and their mom knows
But
it. It'd be one
on
thing
that
if they
point, though,
changed it, and then we're like, holy crud, why'd you
on that
change
point,
it?
though, Nick, the thing is this version is so vastly different than any one we've had before. I'm interested in seeing that, even if it is so similar to like Christopher Reeves.
But I think that's
Or-
what's brilliant about. I think that's what's brilliant about this is that
You can kind of insert
it
whatever
makes
one
us
you want.
want to have an origin movie with these guys,
Yeah.
with this look and feel. But you know what? We don't. Let's not do it. Like, let's just go on.
No,
But I
not
hear what
really.
you're saying. I hear what you're
No,
saying.
no, yeah, you don't need it. You could basically do it yourself in your own head. That's the beauty of it,
That's
right?
the beauty of it. We were doing it in our yes.
We all
Oh,
know
wait.
what happened, and as long as they don't say anything along the lines of it didn't happen, I'm fine with not saying it again. I think the one time I remember, I said this during Joker 2019. This is the only time I ever said something during a movie. I said, "Oh, here we go again," when the Waynes are about to get killed and the audience is cracking up. Once again, talking is never wise
Well-
unless you time it right. And that was the only time I ever did it, and I'm glad I timed it right. I'm
And this
so
is my only
sick of those
argument
horror
against that. And I agree with you 100% because I've made the joke myself that the Waynes have been killed on screen more times than Dracula. Right? Like like Warner Brothers fucking hates the Waynes at this point. That's obvious.
The Wayne brothers.
No, not the Wayans brothers, the Waynes, like Bruce Wayne's parents.
I think he was
Martha! That Wayne.
Oh my God, Mom, Pa Kent.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
Mom in this.
I have ups and downs with them.
We'll get to that.
I'll get into that when we get into spoilers. Yeah, I was
Alright.
saving them for spoilers.
Or like maybe like weaknesses. We should talk about strength. Because however you want to do it.
well, let's get to spoilers. Let's get to spoilers. So that
Alright.
way I don't feel like we're saying too much or feeling like we're holding back too much. Anyhow, yeah, I think everybody's fairly interested. So yeah, I think everybody kind of wants to see where we go from here. Deadman says, based on the trailers, it looks a lot like the animated series. Would you guys agree? No spoilers. Yes. This feels like an episode of a Saturday morning cartoon.
I thought the same exact thing when watching it, and me being someone who's a fan of the really really old cartoon and the '90s animated series. that sits right at home for me. So if someone's gonna say it feels like almost a little bit like a TV show, what's the problem?
Yeah.
What? What's the problem?
Nobody said
That's it.
anything.
You know?
Oh, I know. I'm
No,
being-
he's saying
I'm-
And then Action Com says, any word from the anti-gun lobby? I haven't had a chance to get online, so I have no idea.
The monkeys
And
are
I-
working hard at
The monkeys
making
are
it
working
look
very
bad.
hard.
They're really working hard.
Yeah, they are.
And we're still in no spoilers on the chat because we haven't done the spoilers yet.
The
Yeah,
haters
so-
Yeah,
gonna
well,
hate
just a
the
little bit
fucking
longer,
thing.
guys. Hang in there, just a
Yeah.
little bit longer. Soul Nightmare says, my question is, how's Ultraman handled? Given what he is, I don't want him to be just a thug. I hope he's not wasted because that would be bizarre.
Mm.
I wouldn't say he's wasted necessarily. I don't know if you know exactly what he is, but we're going to get into that real shortly. I thought he was all right. I mean, it's kind of if you haven't already a clue, then yeah. I mean,
Mm.
Just wait to the spoilers section. But
I'm not
if you
going to
don't
get into
wanna
his
know-
fate
if you
though
don't wanna
until
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can't really discuss it without
Right.
spoilers, unfortunately.
Yeah, that one's a tough one to get
Yeah.
into. But Larry Quarteritz, if I could say it correctly, sends in 5, says, hey, Tom and friends, hello. Did you get to see Apocalypse Now 4K restoration in the theater recently? No, I did not. It was nuts.
Wow.
The doc Hearts of Darkness is out now. Yeah, I heard they remastered that as well. I do have the 4K set that has all 3 cuts of the movie on it. And I think it has Hearts of Darkness, but I think it's only in standard def or HD.
Is that the version where Marlon Brando does the role with his Jor-El wig? Hey-oh!
I mean, he might.
Hey-oh!
Does he wear a wig in that? I'm trying to remember now. It's been like
In
a couple
Superman?
years.
Yeah, it's
No,
Jor-El wig.
in Apocalypse Now. I
No,
thought it
that's
was
the
just
joke
bald.
I made.
Yeah. I was gonna say you don't remember him wearing a
He's
wig in the
like
movie.
Lex
I'm
Luthor.
sorry. I got distracted by something else for a
That's all
second
right.
too.
All right.
Like-
That being said,
into
yeah,
it.
no, I didn't even honestly. I knew the Hearts of Darkness was in theaters. I didn't know they were showing Apocalypse Now as well. So that's news to me, actually. And then we got Scott Hughes says just showing support. Thanks, Tom and crew. Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. And then Hot Girl, Hot or Not, asks /1111. I can't hear you right. You can't hear me right. Wow.
Well,
She's
whether
both.
it's like hot
Yeah.
girl or hot girl,
She's a
She's
hot,
Hawk to a girl. No,
she's a cutie.
she's a cutie. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's fine. You don't really get that much of her, I guess you could say.
No.
Yeah. I wish
Popcorn
there was more
Power wants
around.
to ask if Superman is goofy, and I grabbed this on purpose because I think this is going to be a mileage will vary question. Some people are going to find this a little too goofy, some won't. I think. What do you guys think? You think that's fair? Because it is a bit funnier and
yeah, that is fair.
James
And
Gunn jokier
it's
than I
not
thought
gonna-
it was going to be.
we
But
have. I'll put it this way: as much as I mostly like the Dark Knight trilogy, I hate the response to that. And what I
Right.
mean by the response to that is it really set this precedent for better and most definitely worse in more cases, where a lot of people expected these movies to be taken super seriously and rooted in reality, and we're forgetting the silliness and the shamelessness of the comic book essence of this. This movie brings a lot of those things that I missed about these movies back. I want the colors. I want us to have the names and be cool about the suits and be aware that yeah, this is all absolutely crazy and ridiculous, but roll with the fun of it. And I feel like this movie really leans in on that, and that's fine. I
Right.
want bombastic. I don't go to watch these type of movies and need to see my world in it. There's a time and a place for things in moderation to an extent. But for something like Superman, I want the fantastical. I want the crazy. I want the colorful. I want to see full powers. I want to see all the crazy looking villains with the names, actually saying the characters' names, and not this. We need this to be taken very seriously. And yes, kids will eat it up for that, and good, because I want kids to see this for what it is.
It's a
not
good
what-
version of
There is a
Superman.
couple of
Yeah.
scenes that are very scary. I was thinking about it as watching like a 5-year-old, 8-year-old, or a couple of kind of scenes.
Yeah, but
that
nothing
really
like
makes-
Man of
Yeah.
Steel. Because
No,
for
nothing
instance,
like Man of Steel.
like
yeah.
like. Okay, real quick. I told this story before. I'll keep it really fucking quick if I can. I was dating a girl for the longest time. She had a young boy whose dad was a deadbeat, and I pretty much raised him from the time he was like 2 till we broke up when he was like 7 or 8, basically. And I took him to Man of Steel, and we had to leave the theater because he was crying after the first 5 minutes of the movie. It scared him that much.
Mm.
It was just too much for him to take in because he'd seen all the Christopher Reeve movies, shit like that. He was fine with, couldn't handle that. So at that point, that disappointed me. I wished I could take this movie back to that time and show him that
Yeah.
when he was that age, because he would have loved this.
Yes.
I don't know how he's going to feel about this now, but like, yeah, that's neither here nor there. That's a whole nother discussion. But that being said, yes, this is definitely a safe enough Superman that I think you can take
Yes.
most kids to.
Oh, yeah,
Granted,
that
like
one-
Mark said, there might be a few things here and there that are questionable for a little
That's
bit
one
younger.
of those
than-
ones. If you've
Yeah.
seen it before, I've done that with my kids are little. Like cover the eye scene. Like if you think they might be sensitive to it, there was one scene especially I thought they didn't show it graphically, but it was pretty
Yeah.
terrible.
I think I know
But
what you're talking
But it
about.
wasn't super. But it
Put in
wasn't
the
Superman
private
doing it.
what scene you're talking about, because
Well,
I
we're
didn't
just
think
about to get to
there's
spoilers here in
anything
just a
of
few
the
minutes.
movie that was that. I'd actually make the argument that the first Shazam was darker.
And Nick's got younger kids, and we got to remember, guys, that these kids were raised on like Harry Potter and shit now. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's a
both
different-
my
yeah,
youngest
different
and
time.
oldest love the craziness. of
we
the
used to
Harry
get
Potter
scared at
movies.
shit like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom with the heart shit and all that kind of
Come
stuff. The kids
on.
nowadays are like, "Black, is there something else on? This is boring." Like,
Correct. Correct. There-
Oh really? See, Mark, that seemed like nothing to me. Yeah, I can see
yeah.
why maybe for a kid who's never seen, let's just say, death before.
that
Yeah,
was
like
probably the
5-year-old.
most. Yeah, we'll get back around to that when we get to spoilers here in just a
But
few minutes. But that was
speaking of
probably the most
art-
graphic thing. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I
want-
agree. It was.
Speaking of
Hold
heart, this movie put the heart back in comic book movies, to go off of Nick
Yeah.
real quick, because talking about the bright, hopeful world, this movie had some heart to it, and I really enjoyed seeing that back in a movie, like a superhero movie. Because like even with near the end of the MCU with the Endgame and all that, it started to get darker there, even for Marvel. But you're so right, like with because they took DC in such a dark direction. This is like the dawning of the brightness of the heart and the like taking it back to where DC should be to begin with, is the way I felt.
Yeah, I'm happy we got this bright, colorful comic booky movie. And yeah, there's going to be people, let's just say, if they're the Elmore, Frank Miller types, where everything needs to be this deeply vast character study, where they feel like they have to have their pinky out while drinking some glass of wine. Yeah, this is not going to be for you.
Oh, the Snyder freaks are not going to like this.
Well,
Anybody who,
to them too. I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking
yeah,
people
and
who
anybody
feel like-
who wants
people
like
who
a
feel like
super
these-
serious Superman movie is not going to like this at
people
all.
who
yeah.
feel like these movies need to be rooted in like deep sophistication. This movie, honestly, to me, this is the antithesis of that. And for finally good, I'm beyond tired of that. And the funny part about it is, I don't mind that type of idea. Once again, for some movies, but we've applied this, slap it on most things, and now I'm just like, oh, please just go away. So I'm
Well,
glad this
you
movie
could-
just. scoots
You
to
could
the
also say
stars.
it's actually the morality of Superman makes it a more sophisticated movie in a lot of ways, because he's just not smashing things for the sake of smashing things. And he's
No,
got
and-
that
and-
morality.
Absolutely, I agree.
that-
Well,
I'm
and
not
that's what-
disagreeing in it, but that's why Man of Steel was such an abomination in terms of the character. When you know the character, not that kind and friendly Superman that you grew up loving, and he is kind of the big blue Boy Scout and Eagle Scout, whatever you want to say. And
Well, this is the most- yeah.
gun holds true to that in the movie, and he's vindicated in the end by upholding his conviction. So that's what I really
Right.
like about it.
I mean, this has got to be Gunn's most family film he's ever
Yeah.
made.
Mhm.
Very accessible.
Definitely.
Very
Um,
accessible. I mean,
and
he's
it's-
got Superman that says golly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
You
he
guys
also
catch
says
that?
shit at some point too, but we'll get into that in just
Yeah,
a few minutes.
That was
yeah.
one complaint
Jason-
I did have.
Jason Webster
I love
says
that.
Superman still beats Fantastic Four first steps easily. Superman will earn the U.S. $750 million globally. Fantastic Four limps to 350 million. It'll be hard to say where we'll wind up, but that's a good prediction, I think. Let's see what else is going on, and then we'll get into spoilers here. Imaginative Hobbyist says, if the movie underperforms, could you see Warner Brothers trying to adjust the DC style tone based on common criticisms, i.e. too much humor and characters? I think it's going to just depend on the property, to be honest with you guys. But we'll see going forward, because I thought this was tonally pretty much a Superman comic book for the most part. I mean, yes, is there darker versions of Superman? Absolutely. But most of them are usually kind of cynical.
Character. Yeah.
Sorry, what'd you say, Nick?
Most of those types of stories don't encompass or define the character either.
No, and that's what I meant by they're a little bit more cynical stories usually. And then RRTNZ sends in $10 from New Zealand and says, "Hail team, hail Mark. Trying to keep an open mind on Superman, been a fan since '78. How does Corn Sweat rate as Superman compared to Reeve, the real Superman? Spoil away, gents. Cheers." Personally, I would say he's not as good as Christopher Reeve, but he's right up there. Probably my second or third favorite. What about you guys? Disagree?
Well, he said, I'll let Mark answer. He did.
Well, I think, and thank you, RTNZ. Yeah, I really love Routh, although I dislike the movie, and I think Corn Sweat is kind of at that level. And I think if he's got the chance to make some more movies, no one's going to be, in my mind, as good as Reeve because I grew up with him. But for a kid who may be seeing this the first time, he does have a charm and appeal. And my wife thought he was very good looking, so she might want to see him. So I mean,
from the pictures I saw, he doesn't have a bad package either. I guess a little you should see the Toxic Femme group.
The IMAX package, yeah. So you got, and movies have to have that sex appeal. Like Kat Dennings in this movie was, wearing some, clothes for the male gaze. I'm like, wow, that's pretty nice. Thank you, James.
Yeah,
so,
Lois was not like totally always ugged up or anything like that. She kind of wore like a bit of the nerdy kind of clothes once in a while, but
but I think he did a great job, and he's got some great nuances to the character. And I think no spoilers, but there's a scene with his parents. I think that was where he got to act, and the kind of the end scene with Lex. I think that's where he really did a great job. I thought so. This is a tough role to take. I mean, you're cast as Superman, and he's relative unknown, which I do like, and those are big.
That
shoes
helped me a lot. Which, I mean, at first with Cavill, it was cool because I didn't really know him, but that was the movie, and then
But Cavill would have been good in this
honest,
too. I mean,
right?
Cavill.
Let's be honest. David is a Cavill that can act, who's got range.
I would agree. I would actually agree on that.
He's
got a great.
I like Cavill. He's a great presence. And I still think he would make a great Bond. Very English, but this is the American product.
Corn Sweat does have that American thing about him. That
Yeah, man, he hit all the notes. He hit all. I mean, that scene with Lois Lane,
Superman voice.
Versus but even his Clark Kent with Lois Lane. I mean, that boy hit every note, and he was. I mean, you got to be a good actor if you're going toe to toe with Rachel.
Well, and they don't say it in the movie. They don't say the truth, justice, human way thing.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah,
but you do understand by the end of the movie what the human way means, or whatever, humankind or whatever. Yeah. Like you get that, especially
humanity.
By that humanity, what it means to Superman and all that kind of business.
People are saying that I'm high because they're everyone's got Cavill fans. I'm not basing my Cavill acting just on him doing but
Superman. I've said it myself.
I've seen other movies and I've tried to give this guy. I've got I go and pay my ticket. I want to support Cavill. I'll continue to support Cavill, but what David did in one film, Cavill wasn't able to do with script or not script. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like I said, we never got to see Cavill do that. You're 100% right. I will say this, but I've said this before. Cavill never had that twinkle, right? Like Christopher Reeve had that twinkle. George Reeves had that twinkle. Dean Cain had that twinkle. There's just something about certain people where they have that twinkle.
Mm-hmm.
The humanity of Superman comes.
Cavill just didn't have that.
I felt like
he looked good.
Oh, he's a good-looking man. I'm going to say one more thing, more controversial. Cavill's not a leading man. Cavill's a great fucking co-star. I
I
loved
think he'd
him
make a
in,
good Bond.
I loved him in Fallout. He played a great villain.
And I'm looking forward to him in Highlander. I think he's going to pull
Yeah,
that
I think
off.
he's. I think he's
We'll
good.
see.
at it.
We'll see.
I think that's going to be in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But you're like I said, it's not a negative thing about him. It's just, and I didn't see the other guy who played him more recently in that other show that everybody likes, so I don't know. I can't speak to him.
That was
But
a
Corn
different
Sweat had
Superman.
that twinkle in this movie. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think that
I thought
answers
Corn
that.
Sweat was sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I thought Corn Sweat was a great cross between Brandon Routh and Dean Cain. He sort of felt
Kind of,
right,
yeah. He doesn't
kinda
do
right
like any
there.
Reeve kind of
No, he
business
doesn't do
either.
Reeves.
No.
He doesn't try to copy Christopher Reeve. He doesn't try to copy like anybody, but he had like that sort of the presence of like a Dean Cain mixed with a little bit of Brandon Routh. So I felt like he was right in there. So yeah, I would put him at the top, like with Christopher Reeve, Dean Cain, Corn Sweat, Brandon Routh. I'd put him right around there.
That's yeah. I think most people will probably fall in that region. Imagine if Hobbyist says, "Can one who liked Man of Steel enjoy the film?" I'm sure you could. The only people who won't are those who are just so die hard in the wool Snyder and or just don't like the idea of anything but a super serious Superman,
Mhm.
right? That's the only group I think that just aren't going to be into this.
Yeah,
But
I would agree.
Yeah,
with
they
that.
wouldn't like the
or
tone of it.
groups. Period. Sorry, I don't want to meet.
They're it's not like it's possible a world where that can't happen. You
I know a
can
few
have
people who liked
would-
both.
Yeah, you're gonna. I think there'll be some. You'll have some Superman diehards where just because it's Superman, that's fine, or some DC fans, sure. But yeah, put it this way: if you're a everything is rooted in the Frank Miller, Alan Moore, Zack Snyder. Everything's a sad deconstruction, drawn up piece. Yeah, it's probably the one audience that will never give this the time of day.
Anybody who is into
talking to
I
two
was just-
friends that are
Go ahead.
hardcore that love the Man of Steel and Snyder, they're not even gonna go see this. And I said, really? And these are like movie people also. I'm like, all right, well, I think you should go. But
there are biases, and some people will have them.
Yeah.
And I mean, people claim I have my own, but I tried to put all that shit aside and just give this, and I'll get more honest as we get along here because there are nitpicks and things and whatnot we'll get into here. But if you were a fan of the '90s cartoon, I think that's the people that will really enjoy this. Popcorn Power, I think. Though, and seeing Nick and Greg shake their head, yeah, I think that's because I love
Oh,
that
yeah.
series.
Yeah.
Dude,
'Cause I've
I
said,
rewatched
like-
that series.
It's that kind of
love
a
it.
tone, basically. I mean, yes, there are a little bit different characterizations, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it has that kind of vibe to it. Does that make sense? Do you guys agree, disagree?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Justice Gang, right?
Yeah, the Justice Gang. Yeah, by the way, we voted while you weren't here, Nick, and we're going to be called the Justice Gang now.
The Justice Gang.
If you like the name, you can join the
Oh,
group
man.
easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a joke that the payoff worked on that.
Yeah,
joke.
I thought that worked.
That
yeah.
one worked, and everyone in the movie theater laughed. So that
Yeah,
was,
Larry
that
Kordowitz
was
says it's funny because I actually want the gun cut. LOL. My biggest complaint was not enough of the characters like Hawk Girl, etc. Release the gun cut. I kind of agree. I think there's obviously a much longer cut of this film, and I wouldn't mind watching it because that's the thing about a movie when I really like. The last time I watched a movie where like I loved Nosferatu, but I didn't really want to go live in that world. like you know what I mean? Now watching like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's like I want to spend all the time I can in that world. So if like Tarantino keeps making shit, and that's why I'm looking forward to that the Boost movie that's coming out with Brad Pitt. This is the kind of movie where I just would love to just meander in this world some more. So if there's more to this, yes, give me an extended cut. I will take it gladly because I would love to just see more of this stuff because that's what I like. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, Hawk Girl had a couple of good scenes, but you're right. There's like 5 more minutes of Hawk Girl, or
Yeah.
maybe
It
give
feels
a
like
little more
there's
of
a
the
good 30,
background.
40 minutes on
That's what I
the
was-
floor.
What I was talking about, like with Mr. Terrific, I felt like they themselves chose him to be the cool character, and they're like, "Oh, this is a cool character, so we're going to use him to do this, this, and this." And I felt like that kind of irked me a little bit, is what I was getting at with Mr. Terrific, and I felt like Hawk Girl was sidelined, and I kind of like Guy Gardner better than I liked Mr. Terrific, and I felt like I didn't get to see enough of him either. So that was like my biggest thing with Mr. Terrific.
The
was
thing I
that
liked
felt
about
like
Mr.
he was
Terrific,
chosen to be the cool guy.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, and it could come off as forced cool to
Yeah.
some people. I get
felt
that.
like
I
it was kind of
totally
forced.
understand that. But to me, like what happened was throughout the film, because at first it was just kind of like, okay, so that's going to be this guy, right? Like I'm with
Yeah.
you on that. Like at first I kind of got that vibe, but then as the movie kind of got going, I'm like, oh, so this is the cop. Because this is probably why my buddy told me that you got to think of the Justice League or whatever gang or whatever it was, I think he called them, is more like cops and not like, whatever. Because like, now I get it. This is that guy that's at the precinct that just doesn't quite think things smell right. And he starts to investigate and looking into it because he's always been a little bit closer to our main character. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, he kind of helps the main guy. And that's what role he fills in this movie. And I didn't have a problem with that. I don't want to get too spoilery with it. But like, yeah, that's where I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. He's that guy. Okay, fine. And then the character grew on me just because I like the actor, I guess. I've never seen him in anything else. And I just like his thing. And that's totally subjective to me. But like, I see where you're coming from. It could come off as, what was that?
And he was in X-Men First Class, and he was one of the coolest characters in that movie.
Oh, that's right. Now
Yeah,
I know
and
what
they
you're
killed
talking
him
about.
off.
Yep.
The unkillable man, and they killed him. It's like, what?
We
But-
doing spoilers right now?
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
no,
the
we're talking
X-Men.
about he's talking about the
X-Men
X-Men movie. But anyhow, some of us who aren't cultists like both. I love dark and light takes, and it should be a multiverse, but with both. DC did it in the comics first, and I think it will be. I think there will be some things that will lean more into the darker. And they even kind of make a point of that in this film, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit as we get into spoilers, I
There's
think, too.
certain stories that can work for, as I mentioned earlier, but there's also some stories that should not be the thing. Like, once again, I mean, Superman, Batman are the most obvious, convenient examples of that. Superman works well with this type of story. Batman works for his grim stories, and then you can have a crossover with the two, and you blend the two. Time and place. for
Green
everything,
Arrow
but
can be a
there's
little more
habit-
grimmer. Yeah.
There's a habit where Hollywood sees a formula, and this is an always. This is not a recent Hollywood revelation. Anytime something takes off, Hollywood's response is to copy and paste, and that's always been a thing that they do for better and worse. And
Well, it's
to me,
almost
that's
like-
one of those cases where it's definitely on the worst side because it does work for some characters, as I happily have acknowledged a million times over. But just because it works for some doesn't mean you should apply it to all. And Hollywood doesn't seem to understand that distinction.
Yeah. And then speaking of distinctions, Joshua Gonzalez says, is there a clear distinction between Clark and Superman? I guess you could say yes, but here's the thing. And this is where I think we'll start leading into spoilers here, because this is probably a little, not quite spoilery, but it's spoiler enough. We don't get much of Clark at the Daily Planet. We don't get that Clark very much. I think there's 2 scenes maybe in the
You
whole
see
movie.
the trailer where he's walking in to the
Yeah.
planet, like that's pretty much him with his hair kind of messed up.
Otherwise, we get to see Clark, the third Clark, or the OG Clark, whatever you want to call him. Because there's 3 sides to Superman, right? There's Superman, there's Clark Kent, the Daily Planet reporter, and then there's Clark Kent that his mom and Lois know, right?
Who's
The real guy.
the real Clark?
Yeah, the real guy, yeah. And we get more of him in this movie than we do the other Clark. So if you're a big fan of that, that's where I feel like maybe we're missing like a first movie where we got to know that version of Clark, or where he kind of created that Clark.
That's fair, but it's not. Yeah, that's fair.
But that's fine
Something
too.
that
It's
can
not
be expanded
necessary.
Another nitpick to me.
Yeah, but anyhow, so let's get into some spoilery territory here, because there were some questions about it. Now, I guess the first thing we can probably get into is Ultraman, since that was one of the spoilery questions from before, if I remember correctly. Is he handled well? I thought he was. I thought he was fine. If you know the twist, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And I would say that. Did you guys also get the kind of vibe that there was a bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing to Snyder Superman there?
Kind of a
bit.
Zod nod.
Well, the
with
long
with
hair,
outfit.
black
Yeah,
suit.
Yes, yeah. I kind of it felt Zodish to me.
Not so
For
much
me, it
Zod,
didn't cross
but
my mind. To be fair, as much as I love taking a joyride at ripping on Snyder. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Well, let's be real. The fucking monkeys are clearly the Snyder. And that,
no, I'm just saying. For me, I was not thinking of that. I was not. Maybe it was.
no,
there.
you don't have to think that way. Obviously,
No,
I got a little bit of that vibe.
It didn't cross my mind personally.
But
But who knows? Maybe
as
the
far as
second
like how
movie
he's
might do
handled,
that.
he's fine.
I would say he's technically not Ultraman.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is he really Ultraman? That's a question. I mean, because you know the twist. The twist is spoilers. It's just a clone of Superman, but he's dumb.
Yeah.
Because they
Which
didn't
has
quite
been
get
done
him.
in the comics multiple
Which
times.
Superman fucking 4.
Yep.
But it's not so much that he's dumb. It's just that he takes orders easily, and he doesn't really. He's been raised by Lex, so he's probably in that, and probably he was forced, grown quickly, so he probably doesn't have a really well developed brain. Odds are we don't get real much background on him. That's
they're
not really
controlling him
necessary.
the whole time. There's a whole
They're
slew of
controlling him the whole
controllers,
time,
and they're
though,
telling him
through
like execute
demands, yeah.
Plan 83B, and it's like,
Yeah.
and Lex has been studying Superman's moves for years and
The last
being
3
super
years, yeah.
genius.
Yeah.
So he knows what physical martial arts, for that lack of a better word, to
Yeah.
use on Superman. So yeah, the character really doesn't have a personality or any
Right.
and he doesn't have any speaking voice, speaking
Not
lines.
quite a Bizarro or anything like that
Yeah.
either, but
But I think he's going to come back as Bizarro. But
he
Superman.
might because
Superman. Sorry.
because that's the thing is, yeah, so his fate, yeah, he doesn't, we don't quite know exactly, but he was kind of sucked into a black hole. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
I'm predicting he's going to
I
come
was
back
wondering
as
if that was-
Bizarro.
Well, the spoilers are up.
Yeah, that was playing.
And honestly, they did this on Lois and Clark, where Lex cloned Superman, and he was a dumb clone. And him
Well,
and
this has been
Superman
done a
have
million
fight.
times,
So
yeah.
it's been done
Yeah.
a million times. So that was very much like because we talked about how it was like a Saturday morning cartoon Superman. It's also
Yes.
very much in the vein of like a TV show like Lois and Clark as well, with like that and that, but done on a much more grander scale.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
when
I
they took the
love-
mask off, I'm like, oh no, it's going to be Doomsday. I'm like, not Doomsday.
No, I knew who it was going to be. I
Yeah, I
figured that
figured,
out real
yeah.
quick, but it was like I was saying, the way he looked and with the having a dark suit and everything, that was just being a little shit. But no, he's handled fine for the most part. I mean, like I said, the twist is not really a twist at the end once you kind of see where it's coming from. And the monkeys are barely in the fucking movie,
Yeah.
guys, so don't panic about that.
But that was so stupid, though. When Lex Luthor is that smart, he doesn't need monkeys to, type into the keyboard about
No,
Superman.
but
If they would have had an AI. They would have had an AI doing it. Or
Yeah.
Honestly,
you know.
Mark, I think it's a setup for. Here's the thing: is I don't think anything is. Part of it may be just to be funny because like the whole the whole monkeys thing, but they're super intelligent mutant monkeys in a way. I mean, even though they look like fairly normal monkeys, but you can
Okay.
tell they got shit jammed in their head.
kind of
I
like the
think
Red
it's-
Ghost monkeys and the FF. Super.
I was gonna say, I think it's
yeah.
gonna lead into like Gorilla Grodd or something like that, possibly in a sequel.
Okay.
I
Does that
honestly
make sense?
thought it was a bit more simpler than that. I think
You could be right. It could mean just
Honestly,
nothing.
I think it was just James Gunn being comic booky with it, and that was what I was getting out of it. It was just, it is ridiculous. You got a bunch of monkeys doing this, but did I love it? You're damn right I did.
Did or didn't?
Did.
Did.
No, I
Oh, you
absolutely
did.
loved it. Oh, I
I'm
did.
kind of ambivalent. Like whatever.
Oh,
I
dude.
chuckled.
Having the
I
monkeys
chuckled
do
when
that,
fucking.
Fuck doing AI. Go for the monkeys. Once again, shoot for the stars with the crazy. AI is
Oh, there's a ton of crazy in this fucking movie. That's for sure.
I mean,
Well,
there's
the
so
whole
much
movie theater
crazy.
laughed.
There's so much crazy. Lex imprisons them like his ex
Yeah.
babies.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
That was fucking hilarious.
She
Yeah.
wrote a blog about me, and I didn't like it.
Can I ask you guys a
Yeah.
question? Because as someone who didn't read the comics, because this is a major. So we're gonna talk a major spoiler. Is the thing with the parents?
That was my least favorite part of the movie.
Yep.
As someone who grew up reading the comics, I was really, really hoping they would, by the end of the movie, would say
Is that
was great.
really what it fucking said, though?
That's what I'm hoping
That's
they
what
fix it in a sequel. Because
I'm not
that
clear about that.
pissed me off.
Because here's the thing: if Lex is smart enough to get people to figure out what the first part says, he's smart enough to fake the second part to say exactly what he wants it to fucking say.
And to fix the source, right?
at the source.
Like he could fake the source, like it is,
Yeah.
That's what he was the source. That's my point.
Then you also
So
have Mr. Terrific saying, "Oh, those guys are most accurate." It's true.
that's
So
my
we should
point.
explain.
Okay, so
we should explain what happened.
Yeah.
So basically, Khan is Superman's dad. If you want to read what Lex says in terms of coming to the place, so there's a message. There's a message that Superman has, and when he gets hurt in that scene in the trailer, the robots put that on as a soothing voice for Superman.
Yeah.
But the second half of the message is corrupted, and they can't recover it, which I don't think makes sense. And they'd be able to send a spaceship. But it's a comic booky thing. So Lex is able to break in, and the spoiler that because of Ultraman has Superman's DNA, he's able to just waltz in the Fortress of Solitude and grab that message. And you've got the message, and the second half is telling Superman that the people of Earth are very simple, they're primitive. You should rule the planet, mate with many women, basically, and take out anyone that gets in your way.
see, that's the part that I was saying. Like, it feels like it was faked because it's one thing for them to say, rule over them because they're dumb and they don't know what they're doing. Right. It's another thing to go on and on with the get a harem and do all that stuff. Felt like it was
stuff, yeah.
It felt like it was added on purpose. And that's where unless they say in a sequel that, that's the truth. Because here's where it's left hanging. Okay. It could be one of a few things. Like I said, Lex is smart enough that if he's smart enough to have decoded it in the first place, he's smart enough to have people tell him what the Kryptonian words would be that he needs to put in there so that he can manipulate it so that when he does put it out, every other specialist that hears it after that was going to say, yep, it's authentic, right? And also he has the source so he can fake the source, right? So it doesn't matter. On that side, if that's the case, then we don't know what the rest of the message says yet. It might just say, what he thought it said all along. But there is another kind of hanging Chad there, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, with 4, aka Gary.
Mr. Terrific also says the message is legitimate too.
He said, but that's my point, Mark, is that if Lex is smart enough, he can manipulate it enough that everybody else that he considers a specialist would say, yep, that's legit. What they're saying is,
well, didn't it affect him enough, Kal-El, to where he questioned everything?
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a second because I'm kind of getting around to a point of another possibility, because there is that possibility that it is real, and that's why it's corrupt, because, and that was what I was getting to, is number 4 corrupted it on purpose because he knew and saw who the Kents were and what Clark had become. So he made sure he corrupted it on purpose. And I think that may go along with when he was like stabbing himself in the fucking head and saying, I got to protect Kal-El. I got to protect Kal-El. I got to protect Kal-El, or whatever it was. Because I think he saw that the parents were wrong. Right. Like, and that's where
but I don't think that leads to implications for Jor-El and Laura. I don't like that.
I get what you guys are saying. And it's open enough that in the future they can come back to it and say, yes, this is the real thing, or that no, it's not. But at the same time, Paulie brings up another point that it doesn't really matter what it says, because at the end of the movie, that's the whole kind of point of it when he gets to the bottom of who are my real parents anyway, the ones who raised me,
which
the ones
who
made me who I am.
Which I love, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Back to Mom, Pa, Kansas.
I almost welled up when that whole thing, it was done so well. Like, and Gunn knows how to do that, though. He knows how to
pull the heartstrings.
He does.
And I got to see it again now. I mean, that's one of the things I got to. But I got to tell you, as a general audience, like, that's not going to bother me.
No, and it's left open enough, and that was my whole point, Mark, was that it's left open enough that it doesn't. You can interpret it either way, unless they come back to it in a future movie.
If it's true as RTNZ is saying, it's pretty horrible. On the one hand, though, if you could have said, there are light years across the universe, they're looking at us, say, in the 40s, and you've got this Yahtzee in charge. Hey, show them the right way, show them humanity. But then when they added those lines about basically become a Genghis Khan, and actually his DNA is spread throughout millions of people.
That's the issue, Mark, is that the second half of the message doesn't.
It's over the top, where you could see we're like, hey, show them the way, show them the light, but the part about ruling and subjugating your women,
it all goes, goes against the first half of the message. That's why I think Lex manipulated it.
Was that Bradley Cooper?
I
Yeah.
always
Yes,
believed
Bradley
it was
Cooper is
manipulated.
dead.
Yeah, he looked weird,
I
man.
always believed it was manipulated, and everyone
Yeah.
just bought into it.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, Nick, was like that. Yeah, Mr. Terrific believed all the
I think
the
he
top
just
specialists,
fell for it.
but Lex
Yeah.
is smart enough to know how to manipulate it so they would believe it.
Yeah,
That was
my
I'm
fake
with
yeah.
you.
news.
I'm
There
with
was
you.
anything else there other than that. It was manipulated footage, and everyone was just being falling for it because the power of the media and the
Social
propaganda.
media. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I.
That's
to
what
me,
I'm.
it was just,
That's what
it
I'm
was that-
hoping.
it was just that, nothing more.
I mean, if any message that
Yeah.
was there, like a modern message, was James Gunn really attacking social media. Like
Mhm.
that's some pretty good stuff there.
I mean, honestly, the overall message and arc of the story is you are defined by the things you do. That makes you who you are, right? Like that,
Mhm.
and that's like one of the most comic booky superhero messages out there, just as right up against, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, is this a
Yeah.
super fuck yes, it's
Well,
not
that's why I wore the right shirt to the movie.
yeah. Well, I mean, it captures every, and I've heard people before this compare it to the Sam Raimi first Spider-Man movie, and now I see why. Because it has those moments. It has that kind of electricity in it. It has that kind of, but the beginning is going to be jarring to some people, right?
It is very jarring.
Mhm.
It is going to take you guys some people a few minutes, because it did take me a few minutes to kind of get used to this whole thing that was going on, and that's why I'm still like, I wish we did get kind of even if it was just kind of a little truncated short, like 45-minute thing on HBO Max or something to kind of set us up. Even if it's just a thing, I feel like I would have gotten more out of it if I had something. You know what I miss? And we talked about this the other day when we were talking about Airheads and shit, because they did on that for that movie to promote that, they did a fake news report, like they were covering the guys in the station taking over the station, right? Independence Day did the same thing. Like you were watching live TV, like when the aliens were taking over. All they had to give me was like a real life fake bio, like, now you're watching biography or something like that of Superman, like his background, who all these people are a little bit maybe, or something like that, or even if not, just
Lois
like a
Lane
little
report.
But I
More
gotta
like he
think
did-
that. I mean, I love your ideas, Tom, but I gotta think James Gunn thought that, and then he said, "You know what? Fuck it, man. We're going.
maybe,
We're
or
going,
even like
we're going 3 years after. We're going 3 decades after." I love the stamps right at the beginning,
I like that too. I like
right,
that a
and
lot.
then
I mean,
boom, I'm gonna throw our hero right into the. He just lost his first major battle. I'm gonna fuck him up. Boom.
I like
Start
that
the
we
movie.
got into the thick of it, and also it adds a layer of something we don't get as much in movies the way you used to: mystery. Sometimes it's cool to just leave things open for interpretation, because nowadays everything and their mother and their dog and their toilet has a backstory. Once again, time and a place for it. Certain stories call for it, but it's once again become another apply that formula to everything. Everyone's
Yeah.
supporting character gets their own spin-off show. Those things used to mean something, but now
Or-
everything gets that treatment. And I like that we could just say, you know what? We're just gonna go straight ahead to the thick of things with Superman. You know the origin story, and we're not changing it. If we did, we would have said something, and then, well, obviously, and that would have gotten backlash as it should. And we're going right into the thick of it. And for me, I could get invested into that immediately, because I know who Superman is. I know where he's come from, and I know he's capable of. And for him to
I
be
get
in a
it, and I'm not
situation
like-
where he's getting out freaking mad. So what? Oh, okay, this is a big ambitious way to start out the movie, and it really recontextualizes the way we saw those scenes in the trailers as well.
Now, that being
like-
said, I could totally see why people didn't like it.
Of course.
Like they don't explain things like the kaiju is just there, right? And they release the this little 5-foot kaiju, and then he keeps growing. I guess I don't know. They fed him after
that was
midnight, or
hilarious.
that was hilarious. But like they don't
Yeah.
explain it. But do you really need to explain it?
Well, they
You know.
say, "Oh, he'll get bigger."
It's
So they
a
give you a
bigger-
little.
yeah.
They give you a little,
Yeah.
little
That is the
thing.
thing too, where it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? And it's like, it's like, what if you do get those 45 minutes, or 20 minutes, and then it's not what you had imagined, and you're like, dang it, you know.
That's fair. I
Sometimes
was
those
just thinking.
situations are
It's a great
bit of
idea, Tom.
No, otherwise I was thinking like you did with the Christmas special, just like a 45-minute like special where just like it's the or less truncated origin story. But it's fine. It was just kind of to get to know some of these characters a little bit better. Because that's the thing is the Daily Planet characters I don't know at all outside
Don't
of
know
Jimmy
at all.
Olsen.
Yeah, I know them. I know.
That's a weakness.
Kitty, what is her name? Kitty Pride or whatever.
Cat Grant.
Kitty
Cat
Grant.
Grant.
Cat
Steve
Grant, not Kitty
Lombard.
Pride. Sorry,
Jimmy
Cat
The
Grant.
only one I got
Sorry.
was Jimmy Olsen. Was great.
Oh, Jimmy was great.
Yeah,
I
like-
love
Yeah, Jimmy was great.
Yeah,
and he
the
was
other
a
guys I
redhead.
could-
He was a ginger. What happened?
Yeah.
we
No
finally
ginger
got
side.
gingers
I could use
again!
more Perry White. I mean, I know that
Gingers
race.
are
Yeah,
bad.
I couldn't
He
even
was great.
tell you if he was good or bad because he's hardly in the movie.
And
But why
I
did
think
Jimmy's
Jimmy's a
fine.
good line. That
Why
Perry
did
White
Jimmy
likes
not-
to say.
Why did he not want the hot girl to go with him for
Yeah.
the weekend? Right?
was
Like
funny.
for my buddy.
Oh,
there,
I mean
like,
that's
I
such a commentary on like crazy hot, you know, social
Yeah.
media chicks, influencers. I
Well,
love
clearly Miss Tessmacher is a fucking masochist for one.
She's crazy.
I love
her.
great.
I love her.
or no question, was she smart by taking all those pictures and showing the plans, or that just random luck? I was debating that with my buddy driving home. Like,
That's-
could Miss Tessmacher be
She's
that
a-
smart to
she's
take
a
all the
crazy
pictures?
smart. The crazy
She's
smart chick.
crazy and smart. Hey,
Going
two
off the
things to be
version
true.
from the original version, she's usually playing a certain amount. Because if you notice, she's very attuned to everything.
Mhm.
Even though she
Yeah.
has this ditzy, bubbly thing going on. Because even
Right.
Jimmy can't really fuck with her.
right.
Like even Jimmy's like, she's right on with him every time, knowing what he's about. So I would say it's not necessarily an act. I think she knows that if she can get away with that, right? Like doing like this kind of a thing, and
Mhm.
Lexus just thinks she's doing her fucking stupid thing. He doesn't realize she's getting all these fucking moments and things on camera without him realizing it. And then of course I thought it was kind of funny that the way it was set up that, at first he doesn't get it because he's like, oh shit, she's just sending me a bunch of fucking pictures. And then
Yeah,
Lois
yeah.
sees all this stuff. Yeah.
Nick's got to run, Tommy.
Oh, Nick's got to run. Yeah, it's getting late for Nick. Yeah. All right. Nick, any final thoughts or anything else you want to say about Superman before you head out? Let me double check. There ain't no super chats for you.
There was one really great spoiler about let's just say the one thing Republicans and Democrats can agree on. That line was great, and the audience cheered at my theater. The entire audience cheered with that line. I thought that was a great line. The one thing we could all agree on. I'm like,
That Lex was
is
a dick. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that's
outstanding. Oh, dude, that was great. I loved it.
Yeah, which kind of goes
and-
against anybody's theory that like Lex is trying to be Trump, because I can tell you
Stand
right
in
now,
Trump,
there's going to
yeah.
be some people that are going to go say that, but like this King thing and everything was so new, there's no way they could have got that in there in time.
Yeah.
But it
Especially
also
with
goes
that
with-
line too.
I
didn't
That
get the
line,
Trump
it was
thing,
said
though, with him. I didn't
verbatim.
saw that.
This is not a
Me
dance
neither,
round,
but
it's not a.
I heard
it's
that
not an
King line. He
exaggeration.
wants to be king. And yeah, sorry, Nick, you were
Okay.
finishing. Sorry.
No, but the line was said word for word. Oh, hey, this is the one thing conservatives and liberals can agree on, that Lex Luthor is a dick, and it said word
Yeah.
for word, guys. I'm not exaggerating.
Or was
It's
it that
not a
this man
clickbait
has no dick?
headline. It's great. Yeah, will people try to spin it? Yeah, because that's what they do. But I'm saying this for what is, not what I want it to be. That said, I had a great time with the movie. I'm excited to see it again, and I will believe that. And I got to get crypto plushies because those are going to be huge. And thanks for having me, Tom. Good to hang out with you, Paulie, Greg, Mark. And then more ideal world, I'd be still with you guys, but I got to go face plant. So, but it's been good.
No problem,
thanks
brother.
for having me,
Good night,
guys.
bro.
Have
Take
a great
care.
night.
Great
Appreciate
seeing
all
you.
of you. Great seeing you.
Yeah.
See you later, Nick.
Larry Carr, because I grabbed this on purpose, and you'll see why in a second. Larry Carwitz sent in 5 and said, I'm so happy that the hashtag super shit rumor was true. It was one of my favorite things, especially when Superman realized where it came from and said it. Yes, and here's the thing. Even though this is why I said that line about that Maxwell, what's his name says, Sean
Maxwell
Gunn,
Lord.
Maxwell
Lord.
yeah.
Yeah.
About both liberals and conservatives both can agree that Lex Luthor's a dick, and I said that goes against that he's a Trump allegory, because I have a feeling people will jump on the he wants to be king thing and go with that. But the other side of that is, yes, the super shit rumor was true, but the way it came out, I think it landed better because of everybody making such a big deal about it a few months ago.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the biggest laughs in the whole movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Theater went like
And
that one.
you know what else is like the whole King thing is Lex Luthor even tells spoilers, Lex Luthor even tells Superman that he doesn't even, it's not even about that. He just wanted to get Superman involved so he could kill Superman. That's literally what the whole plan was.
No, and it'll be grasping at straws.
He just wanted to kill Superman and he needed the government's approval, and that's how he knew how to do it.
No, and I'm just getting at, people will grasp at straws. But on the other side of that, because even though it probably wasn't meant that way, because it became such a social media thing a few weeks ago or whatever it was, or a month ago, that the super shit joke, I think, landed better than it ever probably would had it not got out ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, that was like the biggest laugh in the theater. And the way he says it, you're right.
And his delivery is great in that too. And isn't he getting dragged into the negative, well, not into the prison at that point, or what, or is that to Lois, or what was the?
No, she says something about because he goes, she goes, what about all the stuff they're saying about you on social media and all that stuff? He's like, I don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And then eventually she comes back around to it and she goes, you mean I don't see you paying attention to it and looking upset by it or whatever, blah, 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 or looking at it when you think I'm not looking or whatever she says, however she says it. So things like hashtags, I can't remember the other hashtag because it was so unmemorable compared to super shit.
Yeah,
but
super
she said
shit.
she rambles off a couple of the hashtags and then she says super shit. You can really tell that gets, he's like, super shit. You know how much that one bugs me.
Yeah. That one.
Just the way he said it, the way that it all came out. And like I said, because of that controversy, I think it helped that joke because it really is such a throwaway thing. Like my guy told me, he's like, it's barely a thing.
Yeah.
Super Spy, I think it was. Yeah.
Brosnan is a great comedic delivery, and watch Ms. Maisel, and she's phenomenal in that. And she's got the comedic timing, and comedy is the toughest thing to pull off. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, the great comedic actors can pull off those serious roles, and right away you believe her as Lois. That's what I really liked. It's
she
tough
really
it is
good
to see new characters, and you got to get into the movie, but she right away you're like, oh, perfect casting.
She does her own thing. It's not too girl bossy at all. I mean, she's got her thing that she's doing, and it's one of the few times where you kind of see Lois, and I'm kind of glad she's not in the mix. You know what I mean? And they have that kind of funny line. Spoilers again, of course the warning's up there, but it's where you think that he's talking about Lois when he's like, maybe I'll just have to get that reporter that you're always doing those interviews with and bring her in after the part that you. And then everybody, Clark Kent.
I thought they were going to say Lois.
And that was in an audience mainly of reviewers, and even that got a big laugh, dude.
I like that. Like that.
Well, and do all the jokes land? Fuck no. There's some jokes that you're just kind of like, okay, this is a little cute, James Gunn-y, or too cutesy or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe even the dog stuff got a little too much over. They kind of overdid the rambunctious dog.
Yeah.
What was that, Greg?
I wasn't too fond of the crypto over this. And I thought one of the jokes that I did not think was funny, spoilers again, is it was a very serious moment between Lex and Superman at the end when they're both giving their speeches about who they really truly are. And then Crypto comes in and starts attacking Lex. I did not think that was funny. I was like,
the audience sure did.
The moment. Yeah, well, there was some people that laughed in ours, but not a lot of laughter at that scene. But I thought that ruined the moment. I wanted a little bit of that seriousness in that scene. So that's was me. That
didn't bother me.
That did not. But other than that,
what that reminded me of was the Hulk smashing Loki at the end of Avengers. That was kind of like
that was very
relief.
Marvel. That was felt very Marvel to me. That scene, just that scene,
because that was the most serious scene in the movie. That Superman giving a speech about how his humanity is what's important, and that even though he's from another planet, he's grown up here. He's raised by Earth. Earth, his parents are on Earth, and he's he says, I make mistakes every day. I'm scared sometimes. So it was really his humanity came out. I thought that was one of his best
so there's
speeches.
Well, I knew Crypto was going to show up at some point because he whistled for him. But anyway, you were saying, Paulie.
There's another kind of familiar bit, right? And that's with Guy Gardner trying to get them to go with the name, right? And that's kind of familiar with other stuff that we've seen in other films. But so along with the other things that you guys mentioned, even though it seemed familiar, it was still just endearing as fuck, man. Like I don't know, man. Like I was, because you just gotta like I'm along for the James Gunn ride. Because if you're not, then you're gonna be cynical about you know, like these kind of like, you know, cutesy jokes or bits that he gives these different characters. And, you know, listen, I was already hooked, so I was digging it all.
That's the thing, is like, these are just nitpicks. This did not ruin my enjoyment of the movie. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I thought, you know, it was great. Just like little nitpicks, like with the coolness factor of this, or the joke of that, or the parents. That was like, that's my biggest pet peeve with the movie. Is parents. The Jor-El and Laura thing. But you know, I enjoyed pretty much all that. Those are just like minor nitpicks that does not disrupt. Because like you said, once you get into it and get in that space, it's like, this isn't Christopher Reeve, this isn't Henry Cavill, this isn't Dean Cain, this isn't Brandon Routh, this is Corn Sweat. All right, this is James Gunn. Once you get into that and let the movie go, the movie just like, it comes at you and it takes you over, and you do have a big smile by the end of the movie, you know. So just once again, these are just minor nitpicks that just like the dog attacking Lex at the end, I felt was a very little Marvel, but it didn't ruin my movie experience and stuff like that. So
I think that's just because those Marvel films got just dependent on the gags.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the uncomfortable comedy, the uncomfortable humor of the moment. That's all they kept doing. It was like the same. It's like they got the same comedic writer, Tom, to come in and punch up all the Marvel scripts, and it just became that shtick, to where even like, you know, the overstuffing of of characters just became too much. It was never, for me, it was never in this film. And that's what I hear with some complaints. I was like, I want more of this movie. You know, I could have kept watching another hour.
Yeah, I do agree. You could probably had about this. We talk about like movies today, like we need 90-minute movies. Honestly, this movie probably could have used about another 20 minutes to it. Probably could have. Just like Tom was mentioning earlier, he wanted some of that beginning fleshed out, but like you could have probably put in another like 20 minutes of this movie, because I did expect a little something with Lex Luthor after he was arrested. You know what I mean? Because he's Lex Luthor, I didn't expect him to actually be drug off and that was it. I kind of expected to have a scene where like
get rescued,
escaped, you know. So I kind of expected that a little bit. Yeah.
What about
the other thing? The other little cameo I didn't like was Supergirl lands, right? And Crypto's, I mean, I think the actress is really good, but she's drunk. She's like a drunk party girl. I'm like, why do they have her as a, you know, drunk? You know, first of all, wouldn't she be not drunk, you know, flying into the Fortress of Solitude? And I thought that was just a little bit too flippant. Like they could have had Crypto come in and knock her over and had fun that way. But I didn't, you know, then they mention, oh, she likes to go party on planets with the red sun because then she get drunk. But you're just throwing into Supergirl. You don't know, like, could he have called her to help him? You know, when, you know, he's almost died a few times in this movie, and you know what's the deal with Supergirl? So that was, I just didn't like her being, you know, being drunk. I thought it was a little bit too trying to go for the humor a little bit too much. Although I think she looked good as Supergirl. She's got a real interesting look. Yeah. So I don't know what you guys thought of that.
What did you think of that scene?
I thought it was a fun scene. I just didn't like the fact that she came in, you know, her cousin had almost just died and, you know, barely escaped. And she just comes in as a party animal. Doesn't say anything like, you know, how are you doing or what happened? You know, where's my dog? And
well, I'm pretty sure this is obviously the teenage version of Supergirl. So we'll see how that rolls.
Yeah, but she was. I thought she was drunk. What did you guys think?
Yeah,
she was drunk. They said she was drunk. She goes to other planets so she can get drunk that have red suns. Yeah.
I didn't like that the Crypto was her dog, because Crypto is Superman's dog. I like, you know, as much as I got a little aggravated, like Crypto is Superman's dog. I wanted Superman to keep the dog, you know. I wanted, and even like with the after credit scene in the midway credit is Crypto and him sitting there looking at the Earth. It's like, well, how's that? She just took the dog. So how's he got the dog? You know. So I kind of thought that was a little mix there. I really wanted Superman to actually keep Crypto. I wanted him.
And then she leaves and she calls Superman a bitch.
Yeah.
On the way out. I'm like, come on, don't put that in. That was like Ironheart giving the finger to the villain the other day. It's like you didn't need to go. You didn't need to go there, I thought. And that's James Gunn, going maybe a little bit overboard. Yeah. And drunk. Yeah, she was on Earth already. So you would think that being in the yellow sun would instantly get the alcohol out of her system.
Well, it depends on how much yellow sun. Like when they give him the sun in the beginning, you're only at 80% healed. So you got to, so like depending on how much yellow sun she had absorbed at that moment when she showed up.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the rules they set up. Like, yes, the sun does give him his powers and does heal him, but he needed to stay longer in the sun. So how long has she been back into the sun?
Yeah.
But I was.
And on the other hand, the scene I really love when Lois and talking about girl boss stuff, she's really just going, the great scene is she walks into the Justice League and you see the Hall of Justice. If you've watched, read any of the comics, it's formidable. It was awesome. And she's like, aren't you going to save your friend? And first of all, they're like, well, Superman. I thought the comedy really worked there. And they said, well, he's got special glasses. And then Guy Gardner's like, well, Clark is Superman. And she's like, what if I didn't really know it? Like, I did like was laughing. Yeah. So you guys, she's like calling him a bunch of morons. And Hawkgirl's like, just, sitting there like, yeah, we're not going to do anything. And Guy Gardner's like, it's against my oath to get involved in politics. And she's got a great line like, well, he always says it's against his oath if he doesn't want to do anything. And she kind of shames Mr. Terrific and kind of checking it out. And then the line, he's like, well, I know exactly where he was. He's always tag all my friends' DNA with nanite. Yeah. And they all look at each other. Yeah. And the really cool scene where he traces where Superman went. Yeah, it's great banter. And then he's got his terrific balls aflying. And I just love the scene because he puts a force field up and Lois is us watching Mr. Terrific kick ass. And you're not seeing everything, but you're looking through Lois's eyes in this force field. And he's just kicking ass with his balls. Like,
that was fun.
I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for some of those kind of things and some of his cosmic knowledge-y kind of stuff, he almost filled the role of Batman. Right, like that Batman would have filled in this. Yeah, like if they would have, because spoilers, problem. It's in the Hall of Justice.
That's my problem. You're getting at my problem.
But if they would have, everybody would be bitching that this is just another Batman Superman movie.
Exactly.
But like, really, that's what it is, because it would have been Lois going into the Hall of Justice, and like Aquaman and Flash and everybody else would have been there too, probably. And she'd have been like, "Aren't you guys going to do anything about this?" And they're going to be like, "What can we do?" Right? Like the government stepped in, like we can't do shit.
Also,
but Batman would be the one guy to go, well, I don't really like the government.
We'll say I'm a bit biased because if you can see right here, these are all the Green Lanterns right here. I almost think John Stewart could have filled that role. John Stewart Green Lantern could have filled Mr. Terrific's role. So I'm a bit biased because I have read the Green Lantern comic books. I collected them growing up, so I was a little more in the know of them than I was Mr. Terrific. So that's,
But you can't have two Green Lanterns in the movie.
Exactly. Though. You can't have him and him. So I get, but I think you nailed it, Tom. He did. That's why he felt like maybe he was Batman light. That's why I didn't quite take to him, I think.
He was cool Batman light.
I wouldn't say he was cool.
Again, I hate his costume. His costume is dumb. It looks like somebody who's going to go ride a motorcycle on a fucking
it is the most ridiculous costume, but they pulled it off. I mean, if you watch the the Arrow series,
costume,
it didn't look good. It didn't. The actor was not good in there.
Fair play jacket. What is that? Because I don't know too much about him, but
it's a biker jacket.
He was a fan of a boxer, fair play or something. I can't remember because his jacket actually.
I don't know anything about. Yeah,
his jacket actually means something. The way he wears
it does.
The fair play on the arms. He wears it for a reason. I can't remember if it has to do with like a boxer he was a fan of and that gave it to him or something. I cannot remember I cannot remember
I'm
the
trying to remember
storyline.
to have read it, but
As
Yeah.
a guy, I had no idea who this terrific whatever from the comics. This guy was incredible, and it was a big role,
yeah.
big huge
Yeah.
role.
Well, like I said, yeah, he's kind of like that. He filled that role. Were you here when I said it, Paul?
yeah. No, about Batman. He basically
Not just Batman, but also he's like the cop. You know, the cop when the hero needs somebody and the cops to trust him when nobody else does.
right.
He's
Oh,
that
yeah.
guy in this movie. That's why I think my one person was telling me that kind of thing. But
But he
let's see what you.
I also loved how he commentated on the pocket universes and like God, like talking shit about Lex. It was a little bit of like a '70s Billy D type of feeling, like he was just so manly too. It was the way he was.
Well, he was like a quantum physics Batman, is what he was. That's why I didn't really.
His swagger was awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, he does kind of have that. And again, and I get where Greg, if that can come off forced to say, and there's a lot of things in this movie that I think some people will have issues with. Don't get me wrong, it's not a perfect movie. I never did give it a rating.
How many Jaws popcorn buckets out of 5 would you give it?
I don't know. That's a lot.
Because I
That's
know
like
you
a
love those
gajillion.
popcorn buckets.
Yeah, that is my new baby. These guys saw me stroking it earlier.
Are you gonna eat your cereal out of that in the morning? Can it hold milk and cereal?
I don't think
This is
so.
my new favorite. This is my new
That's a
favorite.
nice one. I wish they had the one that was the actual popcorn maker, but
Yeah.
but it's only like I'm sure it's the same size, but like that, it just looked cool.
2 out of 10.
I give it a 7.5 out of 10.
I mean, that's high
That's
for
high
you.
praise. I think I'm kind of right there with Tom. 7.5 out of 10.
And that's where I would give the original Superman the movie like a 10 out of 10. Although I do have issues with that ending.
Yeah.
The same thing with like the Donner cuts in like that 9 out of 10 range. So this is right below the best of the Superman movies. It's probably like my second favorite, one of the two in that region. It's a very good, like, the things that work for it in it being a non-origin story movie, like I said, even though it does feel like a second or third movie, you can just hit the ground running, right? Like and some people might not like that, and some people I see are calling it a mess and stuff like that. I didn't have any problem following the story, and I don't think that there was any major plot holes unless I'm missing something. But I'm gonna, I only saw it once, so I mean, and I haven't had a lot of time to process it. I want to go see it again, but I mean, if that's anything, this is the first movie in a while I've wanted to see again. So
Yeah, I'd say it's 8.5 now that I have 8.5 for me.
I would give it a little higher to 8.5, but I have to be really, really honest with you. The Jor-El and Laura stuff really irks me, and I really do hope they address. I really, really hope that he address that in a sequel. I figure it is probably fake, but I want it to be said. You know what I mean? I want it to be said. And I was not a huge fan of Mr. Terrific, and I think the attack on Lex at the end of the movie from Crypto, I wish they wouldn't have did that. I really wish they wouldn't have did. I know it got a laugh, but I was into serious mode because Lex was like, he was delivering his speech. He had the tear in his eye. Superman was giving his speech like, I'm human. I get scared. I feel. I love. And then Crypto comes in and slings him around like Loki and the Hulk, and I'm like, you were in the moment for me. but in the end, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I had to sit with it after I watched it. And I would definitely say it's a 7.5 out of 10. Took me a moment, because I wanted to digest everything I just saw, and I do want to see it again.
That's
yes,
fair,
indeed.
man. That's very fair.
And you gave it a rating earlier, Mark, right?
Yeah, I give it a B plus rating. Yeah, so
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's really good for you. Shit.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here.
There's
We
one
left
question
off.
about the box office, which I'm curious what you guys think as well.
Which one is 'cause we
It's not a
left off
super
here,
chat. It's like it's like a recent.
I'm not so
comment.
sure yet. We'll have to see how this weekend fares. Like, I mean, I already had predicted that. Like, yeah, I think it's going to hit in that 140 domestic range, probably.
Yeah. See that.
Let's see here. Where did we leave off here? I think it was.
Sorry, guys. I'm having a
here.
late night muffin.
No,
I'm,
we got that one.
I'm breaking my own.
No, you're fine. I
You're
gotta
not
eat
sharing.
soon too. I haven't eaten since earlier. So I'm starting to get
A little loopy.
low. Yeah.
No.
Let's see. I got that. Got that. Okay, we
Hi,
got
Scott.
that. We got
Thank you
this
for
one.
the
right.
$2.
Okay, I think this is where we left off. The imaginative hobbyist says, if movie underperforms, could you see? Or did we get this one too?
We
got
didn't
this one.
really
I
respond
think
to
we
it.
did that one.
We did. Yeah, we did. We said, no. We said we don't think they'll change it too much, but we do think that they will. They will balance, like if it's a Batman kind of character, it'll be more darker. Because I mean, this movie. That's where I didn't address it. That's right. Because there are characters that kill willy-nilly in this movie, no problem.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. We didn't even.
And that is a big kind of thing. And you even have like Peacemaker in like a little cameo where his whole thing is like Superman's a pussy. You know, like,
Yeah,
shit,
I
you know?
know.
The kaiju when they take the kaiju out. Yeah.
That was,
like,
with Mr. Terrific too.
Mr.
When
it
they
is a
did,
very
which I
Superman
didn't-
thing. Go ahead, Greg.
No, I was gonna say like when Superman tells Mr. Terrific, I want to get it out of here. So I want to try to defeat it by keeping it alive. And Mr. Terrific's like, and he just kills him. It's like that irked me right off the bat. So Superman's like, come on, man, I was trying to get it to a zoo or something.
Yeah, Intergalactic Zoo, right?
Yeah,
That was
Intergalactic
very
Zoo.
Superman. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very
Superman.
Superman.
Oh,
Very
Yeah.
Superman.
I like
But I
that.
think that worked because that showed you Superman's heart and character and humanity over the Justice Gang, who's like, just
Yes.
kill the damn kaiju. Very Star
Even
Trek.
with
Devil
Hawkgirl,
in the
too.
Dark, where the Horda.
Well,
They
they're
don't kill the Horda.
they're the guardians of the Suicide Squad a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Superman's golly. Would Pattinson's Batman even work in this universe?
No.
No.
That
No
was
way.
too grounded.
No way.
And that's what I like. I want to see a little bit more comic booky Batman. It's
Me
been a
too.
while.
I want to see the
Man.
blue and the gray and the blue Batman
We've
suit.
never really
I
gotten
want to
that
see the
too
blue and
much,
the gray
yeah.
Batman suit.
So no, I don't think they'll change too much. But there are characters and there's openings to where I think it just depend on the character and the story. So going forward, because they do address it a little bit in this movie about how Superman treats things, and like there's that great scene with Hawkgirl and the president of what is it, Bavaria or whatever the hell the name of the country.
Yeah.
And he's
Drops
like,
his
you're not going to drop me. You're like you're Superman or whatever. And she's like, I ain't Superman,
I-
motherfucker.
I lied. I lied,
lied.
Sully.
See, that's why I was like, I wanted to see more of Hawk Girl.
Yeah, well, she's got
Yeah.
a lot.
Shaft. I didn't see a
She's
little
got a
more
lot
of
of.
it.
That actress has a lot of spitfire. She was the only
We got all these.
decent
here.
new thing in Last of Us.
Got that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, get us caught up here.
Sure, man.
Okay, this is where we left off here. RRTNZ says, serious question, how is Holt as Luthor? Oh, he's great.
Amazing.
Fucking great. Probably the second or third best Luthor.
He's
Behind,
no Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh,
behind
he
Gene Hackman.
makes Justin Eisenberg look stupid.
Honestly-
He's so good.
I mean, he's brilliant, man. I mean,
he's probably better than Spacey in some ways, I was going to say. Because
Yeah,
that
he
was
was
one
a
of the
beat-
highlights of Superman Returns, right? Was Spacey as Lex. 'Cause, I mean,
I think he's a beast in this movie.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
You know
much
what?
different Lex than you've ever
It's so
seen
different.
before.
Yeah.
It's almost not
It's
fair
kind
to
of
compare
takes
them.
things from each one, but it's brand new. It's also at the same time.
He's-
Like he got the thing for land, like he wants to own half the country, but he also has like the Kevin Spacey kind of intensity about
Yep.
him.
Yep.
But he's also got, and he's got a little bit of the nobody appreciates me thing from Gene Hackman's version too. Okay,
Yeah.
but he's
Everything.
pulling it from all over the place.
Everything.
But he's also got the philanthropist version we've never really
A
seen
little
before,
bit
where
of
he's
the Smallville Lex too.
a little bit of that too. And I wonder, did anybody hear where what's his face, the guy who played that Lex? Because he's
Rosenbaum
another
was
Mike
there.
Rosenberg.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
one
he's
of the robots,
phenomenal.
right?
He supposedly did a voice somewhere in the movie, but I don't know where he did it. Does anybody
Yeah.
know?
Well, he was at the premiere.
Yeah, I know, but he's
he
supposed to
does
be
a
buried
voice,
somewhere in the movie. Yeah, I don't know.
He
who
was
I did-
brilliant as
because-
Lex on Smallville. Oh,
Dude,
he was so
um,
good as Lex.
I'll tell you later.
Okay, but yeah, no, I thought he was fucking fantastic. He was
Yeah.
fucking fantastic.
He was great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but everything I've seen Nicholas do is even in movies where the movie's not so good. He's good
That's
at it
an actor.
usually.
I mean, he
No,
was
that's a
turned
good
down
actor.
for
That's an
Batman.
actor,
He
man.
was turned down for Batman, and he was turned down for Superman. And I felt like he was channeling that in his Lex. Like, okay, you're turning me down for Batman. You're turning me down for Superman. Now I'm Lex Luthor. I'm gonna show you what I can do. And he goes for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jason Webster says, I would like to see the Amalgam Universe film adaptations with characters such as Dark Claw, Super Soldier, Doctor Strange Fate, Speed Demon, and etc. I think Doctor Strange Fate is the only one of those that you just mentioned, Jason, that I have even heard of. That shows you how
Yeah.
cultured I am when it comes to comic booky things, and that's
I have-
maybe why I didn't have such an issue with. It almost makes to me like the way Clark and Superman are, and the way he kind of treated Crypto, and he needed to be for this movie, I guess. And I understand where you're coming from, Greg, and others.
Mhm.
Like to me, that was kind of like it almost had to be Supergirl's dog because he's such a farm boy that he normally would be good with animals, but this is just one animal he can't deal with, right? And I've had that before. Like I'm usually really good with dogs and cats. There's been times where like I've had an ex-girlfriend or somebody I was dating where I just couldn't get along with their animal for some reason, some about him. And that kind of was here. And it's also, it's like you could see at the end why he's so ill-behaved, right? Like,
Right.
and again, even though whether you like the frat girl part of it or not, like, yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I didn't mind this version of Crypto because I'm not as familiar with him
Shame.
as
See,
most people
That's
are.
the problem. Is
So,
like
yeah.
I grew up reading them. Like I was like Superboy. Crypto was introduced into the Superboy series when Superman was Superboy, so it was his dog. And then eventually it went on to the Superboy, the next Superboy, where Lex and him were cloned together and became his dog. So that's why I'm so used to Crypto being Superman's dog. But I
That's
do
fair.
have all these comics right here. This is when Marvel and DC merged into one universe. Super Soldier, Superman, and Captain America merged.
Yep.
Dark Claws, Wolverine, and Batman.
Oh,
Doctor Strange and Doctor Fate
I
as well.
vaguely remember
It
this.
didn't
Yeah.
run for like
Vaguely.
3 months or 6 months or something. As a
Yeah,
limited.
it was just
I
like
have
a
a bunch of
Thank
them.
you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm getting low right now.
It
That's
had
why
like
I'm
super
kind of
that Superboy was mixed with someone else. Yeah, it was really
know.
good. It was
It
fun.
should've
Yeah.
figured that
Spider-Man
out.
was
Doctor
another,
Strange fate.
Spider-Boy.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be
I
good.
was thinking
actually.
I was thinking of Dr. Fate anyway. See, that's how fucking low sugar I am right now.
Yeah.
Because this is mostly water now anyway. Sorry about that, Jason. But yeah, that would be kind of funny to see. I've always liked like the what ifs. And I liked when Stan Lee did his versions, even though I didn't maybe like his versions. I just liked that idea.
Yeah.
See, I'm not against that kind of stuff if it's an Elseworld thing. But like, I mean, the main thing should
The
be
main thing, yeah,
main
not the main
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Larry Korowitz says, remember Lex wouldn't shut up about how smart he was, but didn't know how he was Clark. Unlike the JG, who all figured it out. I think the message was real. Like the JG.
Yeah, because
Oh,
they
just
were
a gang, yeah.
all of the cloth. That was a great line by Guy Gardner when knowing that he's Superman. He's like, because we're of the cloth,
We're of the
like like a
Yeah, we're the
Yeah,
cloth.
he goes,
We
"Ah,
were-
we're the cloth."
They
He
didn't.
was
The
so
Justice
good,
League
man.
didn't quite figure it out. Clark told him, So
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. I think that's what I was trying to. It's like, yeah, I think Clark told him. That's why, yeah.
I did like
Jason,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I mean,
No, I just like it.
Nathan Fillion was just.
I liked him in the role. I mean, again,
I
I'm not
loved
so.
I loved him.
348 chicks can't be wrong.
And haircut is a violation of your oth. Yeah, and then he comes back. Yeah,
What the hell is that? He says that every time he doesn't want to do something. It's like-
And did you see the middle fingers coming out of the ground when they were fighting? I mean, that was just.
it was, and some people are going to have issues with some of that shit, and I understand. It's kind of like with Greg and the whole crypto thing. I totally get it. If you're somebody who's, there's a couple things that even though this is probably the most comic book movie we got in a long time, there are times when it kind of goes and deviates here and there from certain things. It's not in the same categories like the Suicide Squad, but it has elements like that. So like, how his comic book elements in the Suicide Squad, like
I liked his Suicide Squad. It was a
like-
good movie.
Starro kind of things. Like that's the kind of thing you'll see. That's what I was getting at.
I don't doubt you, man, but it still was a blast.
No, definitely.
It was a different choice, right? Like what you're saying, right,
Yeah.
Tom? But
Then Jason Webster says,
Gunn took us on for a ride.
whether Superman succeeds or underperforms, Gunn's DC universe continues. Too much time, effort, and more importantly, money has been invested. Well, so far, only Supergirl. So Supergirl has to perform. So we'll see, because nothing else has started shooting yet that I know.
Has that started shooting or Supergirl or?
Yeah, Supergirl's already started shooting. It might even be done shooting. I don't know yet. But and then Snowdub asked, did Superman get deported? He did actually to an interdimension. Yes,
Pocket Universe.
technically.
Pocket Universe, yeah.
Pocket universe. Yes.
With,
They're looking for
lots
you,
of
Snowdub.
kids.
Cages. He
Snowdub
got put
is
in a
next.
cage. He's a little white boy that got put in a cage.
White boy.
Along with some bloggers
A bunch of
Blue-eyed
bloggers and
white
aliens.
boy.
Girlfriends
and YouTubers. They
ex-girlfriends,
should have
yeah.
said.
Don't forget the aliens. There was aliens and shit in there too.
Let's not forget about
Yeah.
Metamorpho. Well, I know they called him Elemental Man. I think that was his first name in the comics, but he was pretty cool.
Oh, he
Metamorpho
was
pretty
great.
cool.
He was great. He had a
The
great
baby
payoff.
was some of the worst CGI though. Like, let's be
Yeah,
real. Like,
but-
that's probably the biggest flaw of the film is
Yeah,
the CGI goes from stupendously amazing
Yeah.
to
yeah, it was
really dodgy in some shots.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it
Yeah,
just
he's
depends.
holding the baby in like that rainbow stream, which is cool.
I was
but
getting some
yeah.
Revenge of the Sith kind of vibes out of that shit.
The baby looks so weird too, right?
And then there's one shot where Superman walks, I think, off of that thing, like the spaceship thingy, and you can tell it's like some weird CGI, and then it blends into the real body, and it just that shot did not
Yeah.
fucking work.
fair enough, man.
There's just little things like that. Some of the people are going to still nitpick on some of the flying things and all that, but I thought a lot of the flying sequences and the way they shot, that's why I want to see it in 3D. Right? That's what I think is really going to sing with the 3D is that kind of stuff
I
and all
just
that.
love it when he went off, man, and started.
And the
busting
Mr. Terrific
through.
fight, I think, will also be cool in 3D.
I
Yeah,
love
when
that.
when
I
I
need
was
to
gonna say
see
when he
it.
gets
I need to-
healed after. Sorry, when he gets healed after the fortress, that first scene when he's flying, I'd love to see that in 3D. And people say, "Oh, it looks just like another Superman movie or a Schneider movie." It's like, yeah, but that's Superman flying. That's point of view has been done, but it just the visceral reaction, the snow bouncing up and going supersonic through there, and he's going back to kick ass again. That would be really cool in 3D, I think.
I really,
Yeah, I'm going to try and see it in IMAX 3D. Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
No, I really love when Ultra Man and the engineer were on him, and he had all that nanotech, whatever it was, going down, and he was just flying straight up, and they're punching. I really
Almost
that
looked
felt
like the dildos from
Superman
Man
to
of
me.
Steel.
They did, but I did really enjoy that scene where because he's Superman, is like, oh, he's going to die. What's going to happen? Somebody's going to save him. No, he goes straight up in the air, and I really liked the way that scene was presented and how Superman just like he went up. And he brought him down. I did.
But
enjoy
what was
that.
the reason of going that high up? Was he trying to so they couldn't breathe?
It
Or I
was
didn't
like
kinda
freezing
understand
them,
it.
and so you could break them apart and everything.
That
and
and then
resistant.
also he knew he was somewhat still protected, and those two were not.
yeah,
Okay.
And that's where Lex was like, he's the only one who's shielded. Get the hell out of there. And she's like, he's coming down too fast. I can't.
yeah.
break
He was,
away.
shielded from the nanites, I guess, right? I was
Yeah.
trying to understand that. And,
Yeah, he was
then
covered in those, so he was fine. They weren't. So like,
she almost gets killed. Like
well,
she's
she almost
alive.
got killed. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
barely alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
the
can't wait
scene
to
when he
see this
finds.
again.
Yeah. Or the scene where he finds out they broke into the fortress and he takes off flying and he goes through all the different weather changes, with like the rain and the sun and then the cold. That was a cool flying scene.
Yeah. So yeah, I think overall, I think we enjoyed it quite a bit. I want to see it again. I think people are going to have mixed reviews. I've seen some mixed reviews even within our community already, and I figured that. But I don't think there's anybody who can argue that this is woke or some kind of Trump allegory or any kind of nonsense like that. I didn't feel like, I mean, yes, some people might have an issue with Superman being a little less powerful than he normally is, but you know what? He's been so OP for so long. It's okay. But some people will be like, oh, he just had his ass kicked too much. And so, like, look, if you feel that way, that's fine. Right? That's cool. I get it. But
Maga's going crazy. For
yeah, this whole MAGA bullshit is just that. It's just the media. And if anything, it just proves what Andre and I have been saying for years, and why you should. And that's the funny thing is now all of a sudden people are trusting the fucking media.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, since
it
when?
benefits them.
Like,
Tom, I want to
anything-
know how gay is this film?
is this the gayest superhero movie
gayest?
since the
I can see though.
Is there a Mr. Terrific and Superman, F boy scene? That's what we
Is
all wanna
Mr.
know.
Terrific not just a name, but is he great in bed too? So I can holler Mr. Terrific when I give him AIDS.
Is he?
Motherfucker, it proves that.
Oh, does Paulie really know what I just said?
I just heard that last part. I just
But you know it's true, right? Yeah.
Superman
So-
was playing with Mr. Terrific's balls.
That motherfucker is
Actually,
the
no, he
most.
sold crypto to get
We're
him.
late enough in the show. I'll fucking say it because we put that video out today. I did some research on Mr. Mark, the gayest ever. He is the most stereotypical gay motherfucker there is. So he's so gay, he's HIV positive, motherfuckers. That's the truth. He is so gay. There you go. I found that out today. He's openly not only gay, he's HIV positive, and it's like, yay. Okay, so you're every gay stereotype you could be. This Mark dude that was out there going, Vegas losing their minds over the. He reminds me of like a skinny Harvey Firestein, you know, the guy from like fucking. Yeah, not nearly as fucking cool. No,
No way.
no, because he's like he always does. He's the most annoying, and you can tell. And this last night at the premiere is like, this is all the fucking proof you need from these fucking people. They're just stirring the shit up, right? He's like, Mega's losing their minds. What do you say to that?
I know, and like when then James Gunn is like, he physically goes like that. It's like, dude, don't ask me those questions.
Yeah,
I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to like, you know, sell my movie, man. I want everyone.
I love how he shut him down. He totally shut him down.
If anything, if you look at Mullen Paul Kent, that is freaking royal blue collar America right there. I thought they were honestly, I thought they were great.
Well, they have heavy accents.
I was gonna say, some people are gonna say they're really dumb. I can see that already. And yes, Ma Kent is a little whatever, but they're smarter than I think that they're let on, and I don't think they got enough screen time for us to really spend some time with them.
No, but
I like the stereotype of the accent. Unfortunately, if you're like in the Northeast, like I've talked to New Yorkers, and like, we don't have an accent up here. Like, of course you have.
You kind of have an accent, Mark.
You kind of have an accent, right? Everyone has an accent, right?
Everyone has an accent.
Stereotype that you've got the Southern accent, and you're not. Unfortunately,
they reminded me of my relatives because my family comes from the bottom of Ohio and Kentucky, right? So I know people just like Ma and Paul Kent. The Ma Kent reminded me of my mom and my aunts who are like, honey, let me do this for you. I'll get your boots, or talking on the phone. Like when my mom gets on the phone, how are you doing? You know, so that was like,
that is my mom.
That is my mom.
That scene with the mother is my mother. Like, if you're in the room with her, she can hear you go, God damn it. But like, it's like, did you say? No, I didn't say that.
Exactly.
No, it's like, but if you're on the phone with her, it's like, Mom, where are you guys at? What? Where are you guys at? No, we didn't bring the cat. We didn't bring the cat. No. What? I didn't say anything. It's like,
does she still have one of these? Does she still have one of these phones?
No, she's actually had a. That's the other funny part. Is she's had a cell phone longer than most people, right? Yet she's still talking around a cell phone is like talking to a deer in headlights. It's the weirdest thing ever. I swear.
Put the speakerphone on, Mom.
But you know what? Talking to her mother was the same fucking thing when I'd call Grandma. Be like, hi, Grandma. It's me, Tommy. What? It's me, Tommy. Who? It's me, Tommy. Tommy's not here. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
That has been an actual conversation. I'm not even kidding. It's not even like I'm making fun of Dave's not here or shit. No, that's been actual conversation.
But I mean, I could relate to it because I felt to me, I come from an area where I know people like that. And I know like Paul Kent was like, don't be a stranger. Like he was like not ignoring, but if something happens to your son, that's when the dad will be like, I love you, boy. You're my boy. You know, I felt that. I dug that I related to that because I know family members like that. You know, my dad is like that. My mom is like that. My aunts were like that. My uncles, my uncle's a little drunkers, but so, I gotta be honest, my uncles are drunk. So, but I know people like that in the front. Shit, there's cows in my backyard right now. So I know what I'm talking about.
Are they safe from crypto?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of made me laugh. I was afraid he's going to kill my parents' cows. RRTNZ sends in 5 and says, true story. I met Nick Holt in 2019. Oh, cool. Good actor and a very nice guy. He's tall as hell, it looks like, too. By weird coincidence, I was wearing a blue Superman hoodie at the time. This was predated.
Wow.
Yeah. And I see 6 in the chat. How you doing, 6?
Hi, 6.
I invited her, but she didn't come in. I don't know how she exactly feels about the movie. She didn't want to tell me.
Did she see it?
Coy.
Did she
as far as I know.
Well, come on in here. Let us know. I got to know.
Better hurry up because we're going to wrap it up soon.
Come on.
We've already been going 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm up way too late.
Yeah, you got to be up
Yeah,
early
I'm-
too.
Yeah.
Just stay up all night now. Just
Time to
This
hit the
episode
hay.
is actually brought to you by Six, besides all our fine super chatters out there, by the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But so, Paulie, any final thoughts and any plugs? And if Six wants to hop in, she's got a few more minutes.
Final thoughts. I'm gonna see it again. It's great to have just a feel good superhero movie. I don't know, and if you didn't like it or you're not gonna watch, to each his own, man. Go find something that where you can be happy and have some fun. I think James Gunn hit it out of the park. Absolutely, I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Greg?
I agree. I mean, yes, I know I made it sound like I complained a little bit about a few things, but those are just honestly, they're very, very minor nitpicks. I love this movie. I do think James Gunn hit it out of the park. I had a fun time with it. I do think maybe it's a movie you have to, after you see, you have to sit with a minute. But then once you sit with it, you realize, damn, that was a good movie. So that's where I'm leaving, because it was a fun, good movie with lots of heart. It reminded me of reading a comic book, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it didn't quite have the epicness of the Donner film, but I don't even know if we can ever have those kind of movies again.
Yeah, it did. I mean,
We have not had one of them in so long that
yeah. The music helps with that. Like some of the spots when like the Superman music wells up in that, and you're just like, yeah. So
Yeah, the scene on the farm in the first Superman in Kansas, and the score goes, and you're looking through the wheat fields, and he's going to Metropolis. Yeah, it's just an epic look in that movie. It's tough to match. Yeah.
Well, JPS says, I sense positive vibes here. Did the movie sex? Well, you must be just to the thing. We're just wrapping up. But yeah, I think everybody here on the panel liked it for the most part. Within that 7 to 8 out of 10 range-ish, it sounds like, for the most part. So yeah, I think we all would recommend it. So thank you, JPS, for the $2. Appreciate it. And with that, let's see. We got Greg. What do you got coming up tomorrow night? We're going to be doing physical media stuff.
The physical
Any
media
final
show.
thoughts on the film?
I think it's Mark. I gave my final thoughts.
No, you did. Okay, so yeah, it's Mark. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
really
late.
kind
It's
of
late.
just like,
I'll be-
no.
I think Siegel and Schuster would have approved this. It's
Yeah.
back to the old school Superman. With
Yeah.
I love 3D printing. So
Nice.
I do for some of the 3D printing on my channel, but I did that, and I did the classic.
Like
That's
that.
my favorite version right there.
Yeah, that's the best version. I don't. The New West didn't bug me as much as I watched it, but I just love the old.
The costume didn't look
old
nearly
classic.
as bad as I expected it to look
Yeah.
either. Didn't seem to bother me as
When they
much.
get real
Look-
close and he spins, does the lasers was pretty. That's probably the best scene with the costume. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Mark. Sorry.
That was
And there's
really
another
cool
guy,
because
yeah.
that's a very Superman bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call
was
that? Like
cool.
the berserker, like fucking.
Yeah,
I don't know what you'd call it. I'm sure it
he's-
has a
when he's-
name.
he's spinning around. Yeah,
Yeah, he turns on the fucking eye things and he just and he just spins around. Yeah,
like he's a
because
wrestler.
I've done it in
yeah.
the video games and shit. I don't know. I'm sure it has a name. And 6 sent in a pooper sticker. I bet. Let's see what it is.
No, it was a peach. A peach.
Oh, it was a peach. Oh, she's shaking her butt. No, I'm just kidding. Well, thank you, 6, for that. I appreciate it. You didn't have to do that because you already sponsored the show. But all right, so Mark, you got your geek
Yes.
talk on Sundays and
Sunday night, yep.
Any final thoughts on Superman? Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, go see it. Go make your own mind up. But we all thought it was fun here. I thought it was a fun popcorn movie. I think it's going to be a big success. And Superman's so accessible in this movie. It's just fun to see like a bright comic booky movie. As you can tell, I kind of like comics a little bit from my background here in the room. And it's just not. I mean, that was the problem with Man of Steel. It was just so dark and depressing. I know people liked it, but that's not the Superman that I wanted to see on the big screen. And now we've got that return to comic book form. And James Gunn does a great job. He had a little nitpicks, but I think most people would enjoy this. You can take your kids through it, and Superman's heart and character comes through. And there's none of that overt politics and the stuff they're trying to make, as we said about, Superman's an illegal alien. No, he was making a point that, hey, Superman became human. He's an alien, but he became human, and he's the best of us, and someone to aspire to and look up to. And that's what you have to have in a Superman character. He's not Batman. He's not Guy Gardner. He's that person you all try to aspire to and emulate and be like, and that comes through, and he never compromises his morality in the movie, and that's what I really liked. He didn't turn around and say, all right, yeah, we got to start killing people, left and right. He stuck to his guns, and in the end, he's I'm not gonna say pop because he's torn down, but then he comes back and people realize how great Superman has been and how he's acted, and Mom and Pa Kent are a big part of that because it's like it's who you are, not that message. So
Yep.
That was wonderful about the movie, I thought.
Yep, it was huge.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good.
And they made you
with
cheer
that,
for number 4 robot. So
that's true. And I will be talking about it, I'm sure, in the morning a little bit. I think that it'll come up at least for sure. I think Yellow Flash is even supposed to join us, I think, on Friday to talk about it a little bit.
Nice.
But that being said, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody who sent in super chats. I want to thank the mods. Thanks Six for sponsoring this episode. Check everybody out if you get a chance. I think you'll enjoy them. I need to eat something and probably go to bed at some point here.
I'm up too late.
Thanks, everybody.
Late for most of us. Take care of yourselves and each other, and peace.
Night night.
Superman.